Hello, everyone, and welcome into the 2026 Bearcast Media NFL Draft Show, our second draft show we've ever done. My name is Aiden Riggs. I will be your host tonight for the first round of the draft. I'm joined by two amazing NFL draft analysts we have here for Bearcast. Starting off with the star freshman himself, Matthew Lynn. Matthew, you've been doing these draft analysis for a while now. Tell me how you're feeling tonight.
I'm feeling pretty good. I think this year's draft, it's going to go in a lot of different ways than years past. You have that top-end talent, but really teams can go really any direction they want tonight, and I think that's going to be something to watch out for, especially with like picks 3 and 4. The Cardinals and the Titans, I think, can move a lot of different ways. You'll see some teams that are looking to trade up, and I think it's going to be an exciting draft. A.J. Brown most likely going to get dealt tonight, so that's another thing to keep our eyes on.
And to his left, we have the man himself, Justin Diedrich, returning from 2 years ago when he was at the same table and we had some crazy picks go down. Justin, how you feeling tonight?
I'm feeling good, Aiden. This is such an interesting draft class. It's such a deep class at so many positions. So we're going to see runs on some of those less valuable positions. We're going to see some fallers, some risers. There's some injury concerns with some top prospects as well as some measurement, athletic testing concerns with top prospects, which is something that can always affect how teams are going to view. Certain teams have thresholds on athletic testing for if they're going to take a player or not. They could remove a player completely from their board if they don't fit the certain arm length at offensive tackle. I mean, that has happened before. So it's just going to be interesting to see how teams value these players in a somewhat weaker top-end talent class, but a deeper overall class.
We're just about a minute and a half away from the draft getting underway up in Pittsburgh. If we want to take a look at Justin's top available here, Justin, your top 10, you've got the projected number 1 overall pick all the way down there at 6. You got some other names at the top. You want to walk us through those?
Yeah, we'll walk through the top here. I mean, Ruben Bain for me has been my number 1 player in the class for quite some time. He's such a powerful edge rusher. He's got good bend. The issue with Bain that's good to see him maybe drop a little bit is the arm length. Sub 31-inch arms. There has never been a Pro Bowl edge rusher with sub 31-inch arms. I think Ruben Bain is going to be the exception to that. I think he's going to be a Pro Bowl edge rusher. I think he's going to be an All-Pro at some point in his career as well. He's just so powerful. We'll look down a little bit down the board. Arvell Reese at linebacker listed here. Depends on the team that takes him. Could come off the edge, could stay off ball, could be a little bit of a hybrid. He's such an athletic player. Tyson at my 3. A lot of people have Jordan Tyson falling just due to injury concerns. However, when he's on the field, he is such an incredible wide receiver. Just the route running ability to get open, catches at strong hands at the catch point. I think that this is such a valuable trait at the wide receiver position. David Bailey at the 4. Again, a little bit of an undersized edge rusher. For him, it's the height and the weight. He's a little bit lighter at the position, a little bit smaller, but he gets off at the edge so fast. I mean, just the burst off the line for David Bailey led to a lot of sack production this past year at Texas Tech, transferred over from Stanford. Incredible player. And then, there's some names down there. We get to Spencer Fano at 7, who I want to skip down a little bit. Fano's my top tackle. It's going to be interesting to see where the tackles fall, especially in the top 10. Fano is a right tackle. Maui Noah is a right tackle. Your top left tackle, who played full-time, is Monroe Freeling, but he didn't have a ton of starts. So how are teams going to value the left side versus the experience? That's going to be interesting to see as far as the tackles go. And I want to look at my number 10 player as well, Caleb Downs. A lot of people have him very high. Matthew, you have him number 1, I believe you said. If you want to talk a little bit about Downs, what you see in him.
I do, and I'm a little biased when it comes to Caleb Downs. The Cowboys need a big need in safety. I'd love to draft up and get him, but I think he can just play a lot of different positions on the field, and especially a lot of different positions in coverage. Just has everything you want in a safety. You need that position so much more in today's game than you did a couple years ago, and I think when you have a talent like Caleb Downs that's available to select, I think you have to take him and not think twice about it. I just think his playmaking that he had at Ohio State and at Alabama previously is worthy of being up top of that list. And Ruben Bain, I don't completely disagree with Justin. I do think Ruben Bain is an elite talent as well, but I think that there's no reason to not put Caleb Downs as the number 1 player.
Las Vegas Raiders have the number 1 overall pick. We think we know who this is going to be. Of course, you have Fernando Mendoza, who won the Heisman Trophy last year, the quarterback for Indiana, went on this crazy run to go undefeated, get their first ever national championship. When you guys are looking at Fernando Mendoza, what are you seeing there?
I mean, what I see in Mendoza is good. I mean, not elite traits, but good traits. He has the makings of a good pro. I mean, he's an incredibly smart player. He's once committed to play football at Yale, and he played at Cal Berkeley. I mean, this man is a genius. He's on LinkedIn as well all the time. He's still updating his LinkedIn, getting brand deals. He still has a summer internship, which I'm not sure how that's going to work with his NFL rookie camp and then mini camp, but we'll see how that goes for Mendoza. but an incredibly smart player. You see that on the field too. Advanced reads. A lot of people called Indiana a one-read offense this past season. I didn't see that when I was watching the film. Sure, it was heavy on RPO, but that doesn't necessarily mean one read. He was making throws outside of the numbers, which are those NFL-type throws you like to see. Get the arm strength, push the ball downfield. He has good deep ball accuracy as well, good arm strength. The issue I see with Mendoza is I just don't know how high of a ceiling that you have with him. He can be a good pro, and you can win a lot of games with him, but is he ever going to be one of the top 5 players of position? I would lean not. Again, you never know, but there's just a little bit of a floor versus ceiling debate with Mendoza when I look at him.
Matthew, thoughts?
Yeah, I was going to kind of say the same thing that Justin was saying. I mean, Mendoza, you look at it, he just seems kind of fundamental, right? I mean, he makes the right reads. He knows what he's doing. He has a little bit of playmaking ability when he gets outside the pocket and tries to run. You saw that in the national championship game, getting that pivotal touchdown. I mean, that was his Heisman moment of the season. Everybody was looking for it. You know, Mendoza's not had this Heisman moment. He finally has it in the national championship game. I do agree that he is incredibly smart with the football, and he does know how to throw outside the numbers. And I think that's something you need, especially now with a quarterback. It'll be interesting to see how he fits in the Raiders' offense. I think that if they're able to do something with him and Genty pretty consistently, I think that could be a good threat as well. And the Raiders made some good moves in free agency, so they'll be set up good if Mendoza can kind of perform, and I'll be interested to see how his career goes.
When you look at what else the Raiders have done, you brought up Ashton Genty. I know you were a big Genty fan last year. You can talk a little bit about him and what you saw going into the draft last year. I know you had some opinions during the Heisman race 2 years ago as well.
I was a firm believer that Ashton Genty should have won the Heisman. I would have voted unanimously if it was me. I'm sorry, Travis Hunter was a very good player, and I won't get into this too much. A very good player. He played both sides of the ball good. He didn't play either side of the ball at Heisman level. Snap count won him the Heisman. When you look at the best player that year, it was Ashton Genty. He was the best running back prospect last year. I would have him as the best running back prospect in this year's class as well. Not generational by any means. He's a very good running back prospect. A little bit undersized. We saw, some struggles with some of the things he struggled with back in college last year. Not the greatest pass catcher, not the greatest pass blocker either. He kind of got trampled a couple times last season. But when you get the football in his hands going downhill, it's impossible to tackle Genty one-on-one. If you're a corner or safety and you see Ashton Genty running at you, you don't really stand much of a chance. And there's some problem with Genty when you have such that short, stocky build at the running back position. You just can't bring him down. He's a hard-nosed, downhill runner. The Raiders have a good start on their young core when you talk about Genty, and as well as Brock Bowers, one of the best young pass catchers in the entirety of the NFL. You've got a good start there. You add Fernando Mendoza, not 100% yet. Of course, pick hasn't been made. But if you add Mendoza to that potential offensive skeleton, it starts to look a little dangerous.
And he's also going to walk in there. The Raiders signed Kirk Cousins as well, so he's going to have a great mentor in that building with him already. And the additions of Tyler Linderbaum at that center position is going to be absolutely pivotal as well. So I think the Raiders, with Clint Kubiak as their new head coach, I think they're going to be an exciting team to watch out for. They've got, like you said, a young core. But Justin, looking down at some of the other teams, what do you expect around that 3 to 4 range to kind of look like?
I think 3 is a big trade down spot for the Cardinals. There's a lot of smoke on, do they like Jeremiah Love? They've signed Tyler Algier. They have Trey Benson. I believe they still have James Conner over there in Arizona. It's kind of a stacked running back room. If you're going to target Jeremiah Love, I'm not sure 3 is the spot. I'm not sure I see the positional value there either. So I think that is a huge trade down spot for someone trying to jump Tennessee. Tennessee is most likely going to go defense if David Bailey or Arvell Reese are on the board. If someone really wants one of those two guys, you've got to make that move up with Arizona. Arizona's going to accumulate picks. Someone's going to move up, take their guy above Tennessee. The thing with the Titans as well at 4, they could also be a Jeremiah Love spot. So they might not even be jumping for any reason at all. If they have their eyes on Jeremiah Love and someone wants to jump them for Arvell Reese, Tennessee's laughing because someone just gave up a whole bunch of picks and Tennessee got their guy anyway. So I think that 3-4 is interesting to see. The Titans guy gets taken ahead of them too. They could be a trade down spot. I think there's going to be a lot of movement at the top, and not a 1 and 2, but a lot of movement in that 3, 4, 5, maybe even 6 range with the Browns as well.
When you look at it right now, the Las Vegas Raiders are on the clock, so we are underway in Pittsburgh. 2026 NFL Draft here in Bearcast Media. Aiden Riggs, Matthew Lynn, Justin Diedrich. Guys, let's have a fun night here. We're buckled in. We got a long night ahead of us. It's only 8 minutes on the clock this year. They did shorten it from 10. Might be out a little bit earlier than we were 2 years ago. Towards the end of it, you might remember, Justin, Started to get a little slow towards the end. There was some Cheez-Its flying all over the place. Let's avoid that tonight if we can.
There was a little chaos as we got farther in, but to be fair, it was a fun time. I do think the 2-minute change was a necessity. 10 minutes, I love the NFL draft, and it can go on for hours, in my opinion. However, 8 minutes on the clock makes a little bit more sense for people trying to watch and keep up with the draft, because some people, you hit that pick in the 20s, and it's just so late, you just don't stay up. You go to bed, you see who your team picks later in the night, and you wake up in the morning. But now I think there's an opportunity for most football fans to actually be able to stay up and see the entirety of the first round, especially on the East Coast.
Fernando Mendoza at his home, just outside of Miami, Florida, not being in Pittsburgh for the draft. Vegas is on the clock. Last year they went 3-14 in the regular season, last in the AFC West. Interesting division that you got over there. You got the Chargers, the Chiefs, of course, in there. What do you think, Vegas, once they get Mendoza in there, do you think that really pushes them forward, or is it just going to be too tough?
I think we have to see when Mendoza gets in. Like Matthew mentioned, they signed Kirk Cousins. You're not going to give that much money to a proven veteran if you don't have a plan in place for him. And even if you have the number 1 pick, and they've known for a while they're going to have Fernando Mendoza or they're going to have their pick of Fernando Mendoza if they really want him. So you just don't go out and give that money to a player at the same position unless you're going to play him. So I don't think we see Mendoza right out the gate. I do think he's going to sit, and I do think he's going to learn. What that means for their season could be a different question, because what does Mendoza bring right now to the table that Kirk Cousins doesn't? I think a lot, to be honest. Kirk Cousins is an older player. He hasn't played at the top of his game for a couple seasons. If you want to win right now, I actually think Mendoza would be a better bet than Kirk Cousins, but we have to see, again, how their head coach is feeling, how their offense looks in the preseason, in the camps. That could be a big factor. Maybe Kirk Cousins is just going to be paid $100 million to be a mentor. There's a real possibility that happens. But if Mendoza's going to have to beat him out.
Matthew, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think Mendoza's going to have to beat him out as well. I don't think you go wrong necessarily either way when it comes to start the season. Look, you throw Kirk Cousins out there, you see what you have, and you allow Mendoza to integrate into the NFL. I mean, you've seen these guys come out of college and struggle before, but you also can see guys that have sat for a little bit. Jackson Dart sat for the start of the year last year, came in and played pretty well. Then you have Jordan Love that sat behind Rodgers and played well. So I think that it doesn't matter what you do. I think as long as you have him in the right system, he's going to perform how you want. Just the Raiders are a team that in the last couple of years, when they have come to draft, they have not done it particularly well. And I think that they're really trying to change that narrative this year.
3 straight years, the number 1 pick has been a quarterback. Yeah, of course, had Bryce Young, Caleb Williams, and Cam Ward last year. Went to the Titans. You're a big Cam Ward fan over there, as we all know. Last non-QB, Trayvon Walker to Jacksonville. So just keep that in mind, as it looks like you get a look inside the Raiders draft room. A lot of handshakes going around. Still got 4 minutes on the clock. Have to feel like that pick is in. We all know what it's going to be. Awaiting the official word from Pittsburgh, though. You guys got any last thoughts here in this 4 minutes till we'll probably see the pick on Mendoza?
I just think it's a good year for the Raiders to fall into number 1. I don't think there's another player. I mean, before we got to after everyone had declared for the draft, we thought maybe Dante Moore would be in play for the spot. He ended up going back to Oregon. So you're not 100% certain at that point. Like, okay, Mendoza has to be your guy, because if the other guy you would have considered is now going back to school. But I think they lucked in. I think Mendoza would have been the pick anyways, even if Dante Moore had stayed in the draft. And he's a very good quarterback prospect. But Mendoza would have been the guy. This is exactly what you need. You didn't need that superstar athlete. You didn't need that project player. You needed a guy who can come in, play right away if you needed to, absorb everything, be a sponge, learn everything from the mentor quarterback that you signed, and try to win games sooner rather than later with your young core. They just fell into such a perfect spot.
First time in 2026, the pick is in. So we await Roger Goodell to head onto the stage in a packed Pittsburgh. Up there, right on the 3 rivers. They were shutting down some of the rivers tonight. I don't know if you guys saw any of that. Trying to control what was going to be going on there. You never know. A lot of talk about Pittsburgh sports recently. It's been over 1,500 days since they've won a playoff game.
Ooh.
Pins are down 3-0 right now to the Flyers as well. Just keep that in mind. And we don't include the Pittsburgh Riverhounds as well. I know that we keep that one closely, but still. So, big night for Pittsburgh. Of course, the NFL draft has turned into almost a bigger deal than the Super Bowl at times. More cities kind of trying to host the draft than they do the Super Bowl.
No, they'll never see a Super Bowl, so they have to pay attention to the NFL draft.
Exactly. Justin, we know that me and you, we've done many conversations about the draft and how big of a deal you make this. Can you talk a little bit about the research you put into this?
I mean, the NFL draft is something every year I'm watching hours and hours and hours of film, tape, whatever I can get my hands on, all 22 if I can find it. That's rare, but all 22 ideal if I can find it. You're making boards every year. You're making mocks every year. There's a big difference, in my opinion, between being a scout and an analyst. I try to be both. You want to know the draft trends. You want to be able to predict, but you also want to know the players in the class. You want to be able to correctly identify, good tape versus bad tape, a good player at this position versus a bad player at this position. So it's hours of watching. It's hours of writing. It's hours of researching. This year, we got up to 120 on this big board. There are more players, but I didn't end up writing them all down. But we watched about a total of 200 this year, which is a pretty good number. It's a little bit lower than I got last year. That's a pretty good number overall.
You can hear that draft chime, and Roger Goodell is at the podium. And we await the number 1 pick. Fernando Mendoza goes number 1 overall to the Las Vegas Raiders. Vegas, you have your new quarterback, the Heisman winner from 2025, also a national champion. He joins Cam Newton, Jameis Winston, and Joe Burrow to have that trio of number 1 pick, Heisman winner, and national champion.
Quite an interesting trio.
It really is.
Yeah. You like Jameis Winston, though. He's a fun player.
He is a fun player. Fernando Mendoza, fun player as well.
Is probably not going to have statistics similar to Jameis. I don't think he's going to turn the ball over. We talked about a little bit more, so we won't go too in depth, but he's a very smart player. Stereotypical size, great arm strength. He can hit those throws, very accurate. I think one of the more underrated things about Mendoza, and you kind of touched on it when you talked about that touchdown run in the national championship, he has wheels. He can get on the move. He can get out of the pocket. He can extend the play. He can run a little bit. He's a tough guy as well. He's not going to give up on any plays. He's a little bit older. I think he's 23, so that's not really a huge concern for the quarterback position specifically because they play deep into their 30s. But whenever he does find his way onto the field, I do think it's going to be a simplified offense to start. You're going to do that with any rookie quarterback. But Mendoza specifically, especially because he came from an RPO-heavy offense, you're going to simplify it a little bit at the start. But then when you start getting him more involved with Brock Bowers, Genty in the run game, if that offensive line has improved this year, you're going to have more of a run game. My concern with Mendoza is who are the outside threats? Is it Trey Tucker? Is it Deontay Thornton? I mean, who are really throwing to outside? Who's our wide receiver core? Maybe they address that later in the draft. But for now, you like what you have with Mendoza. You're happy with that number 1 pick. And they can kind of chill for a while now.
Yeah, and that was something that we could have maybe seen is getting some more of those perimeter guys for Mendoza. If that Max Crosby trade went through, they'd be sitting at 14 right now, which would have made this a lot more interesting to see if they could have maybe tried to trade up and get one of those premier pass catchers, either in Tate or Jordan Tyson, whoever they would really feel like is going to fit them better. But we didn't see that. To go back to your point about Mendoza being on the run is, you brought up those players he's compared to. Well, when he gets outside, he's not stupid. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's a very smart football player, and that's what the Raiders need. So I'm actually pretty excited to see what they do next year. 2 defensive additions they added was Nakobe Dean and Quay Walker. I meant to bring that up earlier, but I really do think the Raiders are trying to change the narrative of not getting excited every year to being 3-14 again. But the AFC West too next year as a division is going to be interesting because the Chiefs are not going to be at full strength as Mahomes may or may not even make it back for the start of the season. Bo Nix is still hurt with his ankle injury, and the Chargers, they're just kind of in the middle of the pack every year. So if the Raiders can do what they want with this year's draft, and I feel like they navigated free agency well, they could be a really interesting team to watch next year.
So number 1 overall pick, Fernando Mendoza, officially goes to Las Vegas. We move to pick number 2. The New York Jets are on the board. 3-14 last year, last in the AFC East, a competitive division last year. Of course, when you had the Bills in there, Patriots very good as well. What are you guys seeing here now that we get off of that quarterback block?
Well, this is an interesting spot because last year's number 2 pick was a trade down. This year, I do not anticipate that happening. They're under 3 minutes on the clock. The pick hasn't been in yet, but I doubt they're making any calls. I have David Bailey in my final mock draft. I was between Arvell Reese and David Bailey in the past few days. I flipped to David Bailey today. Yesterday, I had Arvell Reese. It really is between those two in my mind, but I think they're going to target Bailey just to have the more instant production on the pass rush, whereas Arvell Reese is a little bit more of a project right now, so you don't know how much help you're going to get immediately. Bailey right away, he's going to come in, he's going to put up pressures, he's going to put up sacks. So I think that's who they target in my mind.
One more note on Fernando Mendoza. Back-to-back years, a 2-star recruit or unranked has gone number 1, joining Cam Ward. You had the great find of Cam Ward a long, long time ago when your scouting started. I'll let you talk about that for a second.
I had Cam Ward as a potential top prospect before he even played a game at Washington State. I remember my brother had texted me, like, hey, there's this really good quarterback who transferred from Incarnate Word to Washington State. You should watch him. And I watched him. I saw it immediately, immediate talent. His first year at Washington State, there were some mistakes. His second year, he really improved. such a chaotic, fun player. But that's the type of player that the NFL loves, especially at the quarterback position. So I credit a little bit my brother, but finding that find of Cam Ward and calling 2 years before that he would be a first-round quarterback is one of my proudest moments.
2 first-round picks this year for the New York Jets, number 2 and number 16. So this will not be the last time that you see the Jets on the clock. The pick is in. As you were saying earlier, it's kind of wide open. Matthew, where are you leaning at here with the Jets?
I'm with Justin on this one. I do think they take David Bailey. I think he's probably your most stereotypical edge rusher coming right out of college, out of Texas Tech. I think he's going to fit that Jets defense well. I mean, the Jets just need players at this point. Like, when you're one of these teams that's in the top 5, you're just trying to draft the best available, and I think that is David Bailey at this point.
So the pick is in.
Funny thing is, yesterday I was very adamant that it was Arvell Reese, and something overnight changed my mind. So I don't know if I had a premonition, potentially, Aiden. Leak sources hit me up. Not really. I don't have any connections to leak sources, but I think it is David Bailey.
He's gone 1 for 1. Here comes the pick. David Bailey goes to the New York Jets from Texas Tech, ranked as edge rusher number 2, Justin Big Board.
Yeah, I mean, he's a really good player. You look at my edge rusher 1 is Ruben Bain. He's more of a power pass rusher. Look at David Bailey. He's the opposite. He is going to burst off that edge with elite speed, elite get off, solid bend. For the smaller size, you'd like to be a little bit more bendy off the edge, but he's got a good pass rush plan, great use of his hands. Again, really fast. He's going to put up numbers. 14.5 sacks last year as a Big 12 Defensive Lineman of the Year. First team All-American. He has the accolades, he has the numbers, and he has the skill. He's going to be productive right away in the New York defense. Aaron Glenn knows how to use his edge rushers. He did it in Detroit. With Aiden Hutchinson, he's going to find a way to do it with David Bailey.
Texas Tech, of course, made the playoff last year in the Big 12. Didn't have much success in the playoff, but had very good regular season. They expect to rebuild next year as well, and they've got a certain name from the University of Cincinnati that will be on that team, so I'm sure that Bearcats fans will be paying very close attention to what the Red Raiders are doing down in Lubbock. But now we shift our focus to pick number 3. Arizona Cardinals are on the clock. Matthew, what you thinking?
Well, it was an interesting offseason for the Arizona Cardinals. Obviously, Mike LaFleur is the new head coach, but, they offloaded Kyler Murray after his stint there for a couple seasons, and it just didn't really work out for Kyler Murray in Arizona. I'm excited to see what he does in Minnesota. And I think that'll be interesting. But 3-14 last year in the NFC West is just not going to cut it. You want to see them kind of get back up, making the playoffs like they did in the mid-2010s, especially when they had Carson Palmer, Larry Fitzgerald, names like that, David Johnson. So I'll be interested to see, are they going to go quarterback here? We don't really know. Obviously, the quarterback one was Fernando Mendoza, but are you going to see them take Ty Simpson super early here and reach on a guy, or are they going to try to wait? But there's also some other teams that are interested in Ty Simpson, like the Rams. We know they're interested in him. I'd like to see what Sean McVay can do with him. So the Cardinals can go a lot of different directions here. Do they just take the best player available? I would probably say that is Arvell Reese at this point. So I don't know what they're going to do here, and they have a lot of decisions to make. Are they going to invest in their quarterback in the future, or are they just going to try to ride it out with Gardner Minshew this season?
And the thing is, you mentioned taking Ty Simpson here at 3. You might think that's so crazy. You're not going to take Ty Simpson here at 3. But the positional value of quarterback, you have to take that into account. It is the most valuable position in all of football. And even if Ty Simpson isn't maybe the most premier prospect, I don't think he's the most premier prospect. I have a second-round grade on the guy. He's not a bad player by any means. He played injured towards the end of the season, so you maybe want to look more to what he did during the start or the middle of the season. But you really need a quarterback, and there's a guy you maybe kind of like at 3. Do you reach for him? Do you secure him? That's the thing you're looking for. You're not just reaching for the guy at the moment. You're like, I need to secure him before other teams have a potential chance at him. I don't think that's where they go, but there's a certain possibility. The Cardinals have been heavily linked to Simpson the past few days. This is also a trade down spot. We talked about this in the before the first pick went live, that the Cardinals could look to trade down. Specifically, if some team really wants Arvell Reese right now, who's found his way to pick 3, you're going to have to offer a lot. But the Cardinals may be looking to move down. Jeremiah Love's in play here. I mean, again, a stacked running back room, but Love would instantly be the best running back in that room. So you're not going to be mad at that. Just bolster your offense. Not sure who's going to be throwing the football over there, but if you have a run game, you can kind of navigate a little bit. But they're 2 minutes and 24 still on the clock for Arizona. No pick, no trade yet. I do think they might be on the phones trying to make a last-second call, Aiden.
It's one of the deepest clocks we've seen so far tonight, just about to hit 2 minutes or so. Looks like the light's going off up there in Pittsburgh. Might signal something's about to come, whether it's pick is in. We'll see shortly. 3-14 last year were the Cardinals. This is third team, the top three that went 3-14. The Raiders just happened to get lucky to get that first overall pick. Last in the NFC West. NFC West, very interesting division. Of course, last year you had Seahawks, you got the Rams, you got the 49ers. There's a lot of strength in there. What do you guys, when you're looking at that division this year, what are you seeing?
It's a weird division. It really is. I don't know how to comment too much on the NFC West because the Rams are a wild card. Stafford's getting up there in age. You don't know how much more he has to put into his game. Seahawks just won the Super Bowl, right? But they lost their Super Bowl MVP, as well as some premier players on their defense. The 49ers are the most injury-prone team in football. So what do you really have to count on there? You can't count on anything. You have potential in good players, but there's really no surefire thing in that division. It's weird saying with the reigning Super Bowl champions, but they're not a surefire thing either. I mean, they had a very good season, but it's kind of wide open. It really is. And in Arizona, I'm not sure they have the greatest chance of winning the division, but they can certainly compete if some chaos happens.
Matthew, what do you think about that division?
Yeah, I mean, I think Justin has a good point. And, the Seahawks, they're going to struggle, I think, coming off the Super Bowl. They lost their offensive coordinator. I think they're in kind of a weird spot as well. You mentioned losing some of the premier players on their defense. But I really do think if this Cardinals pick, and the pick is now in, if it is Jeremiah Love, I mean, you have a solid running back room, a decent offensive line, and, I mean, Marvin Harrison Jr. and Michael Wilson, I think, were the two guys last year. Like, Michael Wilson really rose up there towards the end of the season. So I think that Gardner Minshew can do enough with that to maybe compete in the NFC West. I mean, Gardner Minshew is not the greatest quarterback in the world, but look, if you just want to ride it out and see what happens, if you don't really like Ty Simpson, and if you're not really ready to commit to him yet, I think that's okay. And you just try to see what can happen with the guys you have on that team so far.
Jeremiah Love being shown in the green room. The Cardinals are sticking with the pick, not going to trade it away. As you said, the pick is in. Probably the latest we've seen so far of the clock going down. There got so just 1 minute left. They were taking their time.
I have a feeling they may have been on the phones trying to field some last-minute calls. Like, you throwing an extra third-round pick for us? Nobody was taking the deal. I have a slight pet peeve with the coverage so far this year. Can we stop showing the players on the phone calls before the pick is in? Because that does slightly spoil it. It's like the whole Adam Schefter Twitter fiasco from like 4 or 5 years ago where he spoiled every pick about 5 minutes before it happened.
Chris is wanting that to happen right now as he is on Twitter trying to figure out what pick is which so we can get the graphics
Stay off
ready
of
in
XD
time.
Everything app, Chris.
Roger Goodell is heading to the podium. Here comes pick number 3 of the first round. Jeremiah Love. Out of Notre Dame, the running back will head to Arizona. Joining that team, the NFC West, they add on to that running back room that does have James Conner recovering from an injury.
Yeah, and Jeremiah Love he is the best running back in this class. There were some people calling him a generational prospect. Again, I wouldn't throw generational around, but very, very good. Again, another hard downhill run. He won the Doak Walker Award, unanimous All-American. I mean, he gets the recognition, 21 touchdowns. The thing with Jeremiah Love that Ashton Jenkins didn't have last year is he can touch the football. He can come out of the backfield. He can make those catches. He can run somewhere else. He got strong in the field. He'll drop the ball. You're not going to see Jeremiah Love too often in pass blocking scenarios. That's another one of his weaknesses, similar to Genty last year. Where Love excels, where Genty didn't, is a little bit more agility-based. Then Genty was more power-breaking tackles. Love is going to get around you. He's going to get the angle, and then he's going to run past you, and he's going to make a guy miss. Jeremiah Love is an incredibly agile, athletic, fast player. How much can he put up with this Arizona offensive line is slightly concerning. They're going to have to bolster that maybe later in the draft. But you like the foundation that you have. And this is something we've seen, Aiden, the past couple of years, where teams start building their foundation by getting a good running back, and then they wait, and then they build around it. We saw that with Genty. We saw that with the Giants a long time ago with Saquon Barkley. They tried to do it. It wasn't successful because it was the Giants, but they tried, And the Cardinals think they can try to replicate the success with Jeremiah Love, get an all-star player, see what he can bring to the offense year one.
Jeremiah Love, the leader of that Notre Dame team that went all the way to the national championship. Got anything to add on, Matthew?
No, I just think, he's probably one of the best players available, right, for them to pick right there, and that's exactly what they did, and there's nothing wrong with that pick. I mean, if you're a Cardinals fan and you're somewhat upset by that because of the talent you have in that running back room, I don't really see why you are. Jeremiah Love is going to come in and produce right away, and I think that's what you need to do is just sometimes drafting the player that is going to fill the need best for you is not always the best thing to do. It's just, who's going to make the most explosive plays for my offense? And that's exactly what they did right there. So I'm excited to see what he can do in Arizona.
So we move to pick number 4. The Tennessee Titans are on the clock. Titans, of course, last year having the number 1 overall pick, taking Cam Ward, their quarterback. Right now, it's going to be the last year of the stadium down there at Nissan Stadium. They're going to open up new Nissan next year. Don't know if you saw the picture of Cam Ward in the construction vest throwing around at the construction site. They gave some people on Twitter some easy ammo if he ever has a rough game this year, just saying. So keep an eye out on that. Tennessee, interesting spot here. What are you guys thinking?
I think Love was probably their guy from the get. I mean, they had Tony Pollard back there. I mean, there's nothing wrong with Tony Pollard, but Jeremiah Love and Cam Ward would have been a very explosive backfield to have. I mean, Cam Ward, I'm big on Cam Ward as well. But, they signed Wan'Dale Robinson in free agency, so they finally gave him a weapon. He really produced well with the Giants last year, signed that 4-year, $78 million deal. So I don't know if maybe this is where you see them reach on a Jordan Tyson to try to surround him with another pass catcher, because you could really tell that is what was missing from the Titans offense last season. Like their running backs are average. I mean, Tajay Spears, Tony Pollard, not the best, but not the worst. But, Shamir DK, and now if you can maybe add a Jordan Tyson, a Carnell Tate, it could be really well. But I could also see them going on the defensive side of the ball with a Ruben Bain or an Arvell Reese. So I think that they have a lot of variety in what they could pick here, but I would probably stick to an offensive receiver if I'm the Titans here.
Yeah, I think this was a two-player choice, and I think one of their two is off the board. I think it was Jeremiah Love or Arvell Reese for me. Now that Jeremiah Love's off the board, I think they go Arvell Reese. I can definitely see a pass catcher. I would not rule that out, Matthew. It honestly might almost be a better pick for how they want to build their team, but their defense is so bad. And Arvell Reese not only brings a top defensive player, he brings versatility as well. He can come off the edge. He can play the off ball. He can drop back. He can disguise. You have someone that you can move around, kind of a chess piece on your defense, so you can move around if you take Arvell Reese. But at the same time, like you mentioned, you can get Cam Ward a top weapon here. Most people's top 2 wide receivers are on the board right now, in Tyson and Tate. You can potentially give Cam Ward a premier guy to throw to, try to unlock him in his second season. You see a lot of times the way to unlock a young quarterback is to give him a top target. That happened with Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. That happened with Caleb Williams this past year. They got him a lot of top targets. But Keenan Allen, Roma Dunze, DJ Moore, I mean, they got him weapons to throw to. They could try to unlock Ward and do that. But personally, I do think they sway to the defense here and go Arvell Reese.
So pick 3 to the Cardinals did go with Jeremiah Love, running back going to the top 10. Some other running backs over the last 10 years that have gone to the top 10. Ashton Jeanty, we've talked about a lot. Bijan Robinson, Saquon Barkley, Leonard Fournette, Christian McCaffrey, Ezekiel Elliott. Those are some names up there in the top 10. Some of them had some great careers. Others, a little bit at times, a little shaky, but still a lot of big names up there. They've done a lot of work. Now Tennessee, pick is in. They're going to stick at number 4. You guys think they're going weapon for Cam Ward here towards the top, but we'll see.
Yes, it's an interesting choice that they have. And to be honest, I think Tennessee almost went in knowing these would be the guys on the board at their spot. I mean, these guys, if I can go 3 for 3, Tennessee, with all the league sources they have, definitely probably knew what was going to happen at the top of the draft unless Arizona traded out, which they couldn't have been able to predict. And they prepare for so many scenarios. I mean, the days leading up to the draft, they're like, okay, if these 3 guys go, what do we do? They have their boards. I think they know exactly where they want to go. I do think it's either Arvell Reese or pass catcher. Again, I would lean Reese. If you lean pass catcher, either way, I think it's a good pick. I don't think they can go wrong here if they do one of those 2 things. If they do something else completely random, there's potential to go wrong.
First draft for the Titans with their new uniforms and logo as well. As the pick is in, Goodell is on the podium. Here comes pick number 4. Carnell Tate goes to Tennessee. Number 4, they go with wide receiver out of the Ohio State.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised to see Tate go before Tyson. I think Tyson's got a lot more playmaking ability. Just that injury history is a little bit concerning. But again, an Ohio State wide receiver is like a Kentucky guard in basketball. You're going to take an Ohio State wide receiver and know immediately what you're going to get out of them. So surrounding Cam Ward with an elite wide receiver prospect is exactly what that Tennessee offense needs to do.
Not sure that's exactly where I would have gone, personally. If I was going wide receiver there, I would have gone Jordan Tyson. Carnell Tate, for me, was my wide receiver 4, which is lower than a lot of people. But I just don't know if I see premier wide receiver 1 in Carnell Tate. I think he can be a good 2 in the NFL, but if I'm at the number 4 overall pick, taking a wide receiver, I don't want a good 2. I want a 1. I want a superstar. I want a CeeDee Lamb. I want a Jamar Chase, right? Carnell Tate can be a good player. He's a great hands. He doesn't drop the football. He can get open downfield. I mean, contested catches, those contact catches, he specializes in that. How much of a career can you make in the league doing that? You don't have those opportunities that come by too often. Ward's going to throw it up to you, but you have to make those catches against NFL DBs rather than college DBs. I don't see elite separation with Carnell Tate. I mean, he's a good route runner. He's got a good route tree. The issue is he's not getting open on his first break every single time. You want to see a little bit more separation out of him. Especially playing next to Jeremiah Smith, you almost wanted to see more. Every time I was watching the film of Carnell Tate, like, this is a good player. Where is this elite? Where am I seeing this top 5, top 10 pick guy? I don't know if I ever personally saw it. So I think that's an interesting selection. But again, you took a need at wide receiver. You're going to give Cam Ward an elite weapon, hopefully an elite weapon. See how that works out. I do think it might be a slight mistake there to pass on Arvell Reese.
His first team All Big Ten last year, second team All American as well. He's going to pair up with Wan'Dale Robinson. You mentioned the free agent signing for the Titans in the offseason. We move on to pick number 5. Always an interesting team to watch out for in the draft. New York Giants.
Giants
now
pick
on the
is
clock.
already in.
That was very quick, the quickest we've seen tonight.
So they either knew who they wanted already, or somebody fell to them that they didn't expect to be there. Matthew, I don't know how you're feeling about this, but this is a 2-player race again. It's Arvell Reese or Jordan Tyson.
I think that they're going to lean more on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, John Harbaugh has just been a great defensive coach his entire career. I think that they're going to take Arvell Reese right here, and they're not going to think twice about it. Look, you have Malik Neighbors coming back off of an injury for Jackson Dart. They also added Isaiah Likely at the tight end position. So I think that they have some decent supporting cast around Jackson Dart, and I still think that they can find enough quality wide receivers in round 2 to fill that need. But I'm going to be interested to see here what John Harbaugh elects to do for the Giants. I agree with you, though. I think they're leaning defense.
Yeah, I think they've been heavily linked to Jordan Tyson and Caleb Downs the past few days. Those are the guys that they brought in personally to New York for dinner, which, if that means a lot to you, some teams that means a lot, some teams it doesn't. Maybe they just wanted to eat dinner with the guy and talk to him, But that does mean a lot in my mind. You're not going to pay that money to fly out anybody. You want to draft these guys. Arvell Reese did visit New York. Maybe they just didn't expect him to be there, so he could be in play here. The issue with New York is they traded for that second top 10 pick. So they may want Jordan Tyson or Caleb Downs to fall to them at 10. And that may not happen. What they want may not end up happening. So if you really want to secure one of those two guys, it may have to be now. But they also may have to pivot on their plan, seeing Arvell Reese now on the board. I personally think this is Jordan Tyson, specifically because of who picks after them, the Cleveland Browns. With Carnell Tate now off the board, if the Browns want wide receiver, it'd have to be Jordan Tyson. The Commanders could take wide receiver. The Saints could take wide receiver. There's no longer a good chance that Tyson falls to you at 10, so if you really want him, it has to be now.
Giants very active earlier this week, of course, with our Cincinnati Bengals here. Sexy Dexy coming to the Queen City for that number 10 pick that now originally belonged to Cincinnati, now belongs to the Giants. You mentioned earlier having 2 here. There's a chance we have some movement going on around the draft soon, as our producer Chris Pagan's letting us know. We've got some trades that are coming pretty soon. We'll let you know when those go official of what they truly are. Giants pick went in very quickly here at number 5. The trade coming in here, the next pick, number 6 from Cleveland, is heading to Kansas City. We have our Browns fan here, and Justin Diedrich, who had his quick reaction there. Cleveland gets number 9.
And there better be an and to what you're typing.
Getting a live reaction, and I don't know yet. Thank you for that one, Chris, our insider behind the camera. So number 6 is going to go to Kansas City. Cleveland's getting 9.
We better get an extra second-round pick for moving down 3 spots. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't hate it. It was the thing that strikes me with this is that tells me the Browns wanted Carnell Tate, right? And earlier before the draft, I had heard a lot from Brown circles, which I'm a little bit connected with some Cleveland connections, that it was tackle or trade down. They may have lied to me. I think they wanted Carnell Tate. They see that Tennessee took him. Now you're going to move back. Maybe they're going to move back to try to target Jordan Tyson, or maybe they think the top offensive tackle that they want is still going to be there at 9. Whatever Kansas City is going to send you extra is worth moving down those 3 spots. The question is, who does Kansas City want?
I think it's Ruben Bain.
You think they want to jump?
I think they jump
Washington.
and grab. I think they jump and grab Ruben Bain from Washington.
Yeah, because the thing with Bain is he could have been targeted by Washington or New Orleans, which also both would have been ahead Kansas City, so if they really want him. If New York takes Jordan Tyson, Kansas City would then have the option between Ruben Bain and Arvell Reese, which now you have a choice to make between those two, Matthew.
I'm probably going to – well, I think it depends on what you want. I think if you're the Chiefs, if you're looking for a pure pass rusher, I'm probably taking Ruben Bain. I think that him on the edge is exactly what that team needs. You've got Chris Jones still up front, still kicking it after these last couple of years. But I think if you get Ruben Bain in a Chiefs uniform, it could be pretty good.
So official trade is Kansas City gets number 6, Cleveland gets number 9, number 74, and number 148. Second straight year that Cleveland has traded down, actually traded down 3 spots once again, just like they did last year, going from 2 to 5. This time it's from 6 to 9. Our Browns fans behind the camera, clearly based off that message, are not very happy with what's going on right now, along with the one on camera. But still, we're awaiting pick number 5. The Giants are still awaiting to announce a selection. The pick is in from New York. It's been in for around 5 to 6 minutes now. We're on commercial right now. We're going to wait for Goodell to head to the podium, but got a lot of discussion going on here between our Browns fans that are here on the set. But
Chris, do we have any words from behind the camera? How are you feeling about the Browns trade?
I'm not happy. I'm not happy. Too many years we do this. I don't get it.
He's not
Fire
happy
my
about
GM.
it.
a team that's very active on draft night.
Very. Too active, they say, huh?
Too active. There you go. There, you heard it from the man himself, Chris Pagan, CP as we call him, behind the camera. Pick is in for New York. About to head to the podium is Roger Goodell. Pick number 5. A lot of movement all over the place. But here comes Roger Goodell for pick number 5. Guys, any last thoughts before this is announced?
Jordan Tyson. Final prediction.
There you go.
Oh, he's going to be talking for quite some time, isn't he?
We're waiting.
Matthew, who's your final prediction?
I think it's Jordan Tyson.
Jordan Tyson as well.
Guys are in agreement.
I'm gonna swap back. I think that now that the Browns are trading up, or the Chiefs are trading up, I think that it is Jordan Tyson.
So, Justin, you went 3 for 3.
I started
On
3
the
for 3.
openers.
That Cardinal Tate pick did throw me. I did consider it this morning when I was making my final mock, but I had Cardinal Tate at 8 to New Orleans, so that is also off the board for me now.
This is a very long announcement of this selection.
They take their sweet old time in New York.
Taking their time.
Yeah.
Chris is still not happy about what's going to come and be announced on stage soon. So here we go. Pick number 5.
Ooh, okay.
Interesting.
There it is. Arvell Reese from The Ohio State goes to the New York Football Giants. Pick number 5.
They must have not expected him to be there at 5 because that pick was in quick. They ran the draft card up. And now the 2 guys that they were heavily linked to the most, they hope one of those 2 downs or Tyson falls to them at 10. But for the meantime, they got the number 2 player on my board, Arvell Reese. Again, he's an incredibly versatile player. He played both off ball and on the ball at Ohio State. Rushed the passer more this past season, but in previous years we saw him off the ball. He can cover. He's a great tackler. I wouldn't really want to see him in a ton of coverage, to be honest, in the NFL. But you're probably drafting him to come off the edge. It has Brian Burns there as your goal. You're going to pair him next to Brian Burns. It's going to be a good duo there. Reese is a little bit more of a project at the moment. He's going to take some time to learn. He's going to take some time to develop. I don't know about instant sack production, about instant pressure production. But you develop him, you play him in that hybrid on and off ball role. Harbaugh can do with his players. You move him around. Again, that chess piece versatility. Versatile weapon. I love that phrase. You have a versatile weapon on the defense with Arvell Reese. You're very happy with this pick if you're a Giants fan, to be honest. I don't think many Giants fans expected Reese to be here at 5. I didn't expect him to be here at 5, so that's a home run pick.
I agree. I think, John Harbaugh has just done such a great job assembling defenses. You think about those Ravens defenses over the last 5 years. They've been terrific from top to bottom. So I think, getting this guy that they thought wasn't going to be available to them and letting them fall down, sit at that 5 spot, I think they're doing a great thing here by just drafting Arvell Reese and moving on. But, now the Chiefs, we talked about it a little bit, but I think it's going to be really interesting to see what they're going to do here, and they immediately put the pick in. So I really do think this is Ruben Bain.
Chiefs had pick number 32 last year, taking Josh Simmons on the O-line. Trade once again, going from Cleveland to Kansas City. 6 for 9, along with 2 other picks later in this draft, go to Cleveland. Pick, as you said, went very quickly to Kansas City here. They know what they want. A lot of big names still on the board here as you get down to number 6. Your number 1 player is still available as well.
Yeah, and I kind of knew that Bain would slide a little bit just due to the arm length. That was the biggest concern for him going in. Apparently there were some slight injury concerns. I didn't hear too much about it, but there were some I don't want to say medical red flags. We'll call them a nice shade of yellow that teams may have popped up as far as physicals went. But again, it's this shorter arm length that's really making him fall. Some teams really value the specific athletic testing and traits and measurements. But for me, when watching Bain, I mean, I just saw the best player. There was no player better. Oh my gosh, there was no player that I saw better in this year's class watching the film than Ruben Bain. I just see a home run All-Pro edge rusher. I don't care about the arm length. I knew it was going to come in short when you were watching him on film. He looks like a little T-Rex out there, but he still got to the quarterback, and that's what matters. It's surprising, and I mean, not really surprising to still see him here. I knew that going in. Again, the difference between the boards is it's not a mock. You know, there's a difference between grade and projection now. I always like to say that. I projected Bain in the 5 to 10 range, but he is my number 1 because I just think he's the best player in class. I do think this can be Bain. However, I also think there's a weird shot at corner here at 6. They traded away Trent McDuffie. They have no corners, like, whatsoever at all. Mansour Delane's on the board. Jermond McCoy's on the board. His injury concerns, there are definite red flags with Jermond McCoy as far as injury goes. But maybe you wanted to jump Washington or New Orleans for Mansour Delane. You know, we don't 100% know where those teams value. Kansas City's going to know better than us. But I do think Bain is probably where I lean here. And if they get the number 1 player on my board at 6, I mean, you have to give that an A+ if that's the pick.
Uncharacteristic year last year for Kansas City. We've gotten so used to them being at the top of the entire league. They went 6-11, 3rd in the AFC West. We mentioned that division earlier and everything going on over there. Trade is official. Pick is in for the Chiefs. Some of the other moves they've made. Kenneth Walker coming over from Seattle to sign that 3-year deal. Also re-signed Travis Kelce in the offseason to a 1-year, $12 million deal. Of course, the Cincinnati Bearcat staying 1 more year in Kansas City, and we'll wait to see what he does with his future. Official trade details are on the screen right now. 6th overall pick goes to Kansas City. 9th goes to Cleveland, along with a 3rd and a 7th. Get a look inside the Chiefs draft room. Andy Reid looking really nice right now, ready for this pick.
The lights is not doing his head any favor in that camera angle, to be honest. It was shining.
So a lot of big names still on the board for Kansas City here. Pick went in immediately as the trade went official. Roger Goodell heading to the podium, ready for pick number 6, first round, 2026 NFL Draft. Kansas City, as you hear that draft chime.
Top 3 sound in the world, in my opinion.
Might be top 2.
Might be number 1.
Mansour Delane goes to Kansas City.
Now, Aiden, I have a question for you. How do I count this? Because I had no trades in my final mock, but I did have Kansas City selecting Delane. So do I get a half a point?
I'll give it to you.
Well, we'll half highlight.
We'll give you 3.5 there.
We'll get a half a point. Delane's by far the best corner in this class, in my opinion. I mean, he had such a good season at LSU after transferring over from Virginia Tech. 2 picks, 11 pass deflections. You might think, oh, okay, he's not doing too much on the ball. He's not being floating. He was a lockdown corner. One of the best, probably the best man cover corner, press man specifically. The NFL is in a heavy press man era right now. He's going to want to play that. Heavy press man corner. Kansas City's going to find ways to use him. They took an undersized corner a few years back in Trent McDuffie and made him an All-Pro. Now you take a corner in Mansour Delane, who isn't undersized, but he has shorter arms, which, why that matters for corners, some people are like, okay, as long as he can defend, right? It's that point of contact at the line of scrimmage, especially when you're in heavy press man. You make that first contact with the wide receiver, you throw them off their route, you throw them off their bump. Delane might have struggles with that due to the shorter arms. He also lacks that top-end speed. You're not going to see him in the 4.3s, maybe low 4.4s. I'm not sure exactly what he ran, but it wasn't in the 4.3s, that's for sure. It wasn't where you want to see your top-end corners. But you saw a corner in last year's class, Will Johnson, who had the top-end speed concerns. He was one of the best rookies in all of football last year, in Arizona, and he fell to the second round. But you don't need to have that top-end speed to be great at corner. He has the press man skills. He has the coverage skills. He has the experience, and he came from DBU. So you're happy with that.
So, in your opinion here, why would Kansas City trade up there?
Washington. Washington does not have a cornerback room either. They tried to make the swing for Marshawn Lattimore. That didn't work out too well. Marshawn Lattimore in 2026 is not exactly what you want to see on the outside boundary if you're a Washington fan. So they probably were going to target Mansour Delane, who people had said were going to go higher than you expected. This is where we see it. Trade up to that 6 is higher than I expected. I did have him as a Kansas City target, but Washington, New Orleans, both corner-needy teams, even if it's not exactly where they wanted to go, you're going to jump up and secure your guy. That's always how the draft should go. If there's a guy you really want, even if there's just an inkling that he can be taken before you jump and you secure.
Commanders going 5-12 last year. That pick went in very quickly. Right as they went on the clock, they were ready for it. They finished third in the NFC East. You're an NFC East guy.
NFC Beast.
NFC Beast, there you go. Where do you see the Commanders kind of sitting there in that division?
I'm kind of surprised that they've done a lot better. Jaden Daniels, I didn't think was going to be amazing, and especially in Washington, but he's proved me wrong, and I'm glad to say it. I liked him at LSU, and he's done a good job so far. I mean, had that great playoff win over the Lions a couple years ago, and now they're in a position where they can try to make something happen. And I feel like they can do a lot of different things with this pick. Do they feel like they could add that receiver in Jordan Tyson to help Jaden Daniels? Do they feel like they could add a premier defensive player, whether it's Sony Styles, Ruben Bain, or Caleb Downs? I mean, I really do think that they could do something like that as well. So I'm not really too sure what way they're going to lean, but, I for sure think if they can draft it right, they'll be in a good position. In my mock, I have them drafting Mekhi Lemon from USC. So I think that that'd be a good player for the Commanders to get.
You look at some recent first-round picks for the Commanders, 2022, Jahan Dotson, 23, Emmanuel Forbes. Of course, in 24, they took Jaden Daniels, the second overall pick. Last year, had the 29th overall pick, took Josh Connerly, the tackle out of Oregon. Pick is in. Looks like we're going to head to the podium soon to hear from Roger Goodell. He slowly walks his way out there. Any last thoughts before this one goes in?
Now, I do think this is also a wide receiver, but I think with Tyson still on the board, I think they go Jordan Tyson over Mekhi Lemon. But I could see this as a Mekhi Lemon spot. Definitely a receiver spot. Outside shot for Sonny Styles, which is who I had in my my final mock, but I also had Tyson off the board, so that did come into play there. But I do think this is wide receiver or Sonny Styles, who Dan Quinn has been on the record for saying was his favorite prospect in the class.
So Roger Goodell is on the podium right now, awaiting the official word from him. Lynn Swain and Jerome Bettis out there, Pittsburgh legend, standing alongside him. Pick number 7, belonging to this Commanders team. Of course, a lot of trade movement going on right now. Of course, you had the 6th pick going to Kansas City from Cleveland. 9th pick now belongs to the Browns. Chris Pagan is stating his opinions behind the camera, to say the least, of everything that's been going on in our chat right here. Mentioned the Commanders finishing 3rd in the NFC Beast, as you call it. We await your Cowboys pick, which will be coming later. Here comes that pick for the Commanders, number 7. Sonny Styles, linebacker from the Ohio State. 3rd player from the Buckeyes, going now in the top 10. So Commanders decide to go linebacker.
Another point for my final mock as well. I had Sonny Styles. We talked about pass catcher, but Dan Quinn was literally on record for saying Sonny Styles was his favorite player in the class. So I had to take that into consideration for the final mock, which is where I had Sonny Styles going. He is one of the most athletic players I think I've ever watched. I mean, I saw some tweets earlier today saying he's just overrated because of the athletic testing. No, watch him play, please. He didn't miss a single tackle until the Big Ten championship game. And it was because there was kind of a slide-off play. It wasn't really a real missed tackle, but he's a strong tackler. He's great in coverage, too. He was a former safety. He bulked up, moved to linebacker, incredible instincts in coverage, incredible tackler. He fills the gap. He's got great vision on the defensive side of the ball as well. I really like Sonny Styles. He was one of my top players in the class. I have him here, number 5. Your top 5 player in the class. This is a great pick for Washington. Exactly what they needed on their defense. They needed to build that unit too, because it was a weak front 7.
Matthew, thoughts on this?
I think it's a great pick. Look, Sonny Styles is going to be a guy that's going to call your defense. He wears that green dot. So I really don't think you can go wrong with that. Dan Quinn's a defensive mastermind. I desperately miss him as my defensive coordinator in Dallas. So I think he's doing great things in Washington. Yeah.
So when you look at now, pick number 8 belonging to the New Orleans Saints. Pick is in very quickly as well. Saints last year going 6-11. Last the NFC South, that division that came down really to the end of the season trying to figure out who was going to make the playoffs. Quarterback, Tyler Shuck, former Louisville Cardinal, down there asserting himself as QB1. What are you guys thinking here starting off, Justin?
You know, Tyler Shuck played a lot better than I expected last season. And with Jordan Tyson still on the board, we've brought his name up for pretty much every pick since number 4. But he's just that good of a player. There were injury concerns with Tyson, which is where we may see a slight slide more than we expect. But New Orleans, I think, is back-to-back. New Orleans and Cleveland are the last 2 teams for a while that I would really target Jordan Tyson here. Because to be honest, I think they want to, if he's going to go before New York, it has to be New Orleans because Cleveland is a major threat for him. So if New Orleans wants him, it has to be now. I can also see an outside reach here for, not really reach, but an outside prospect of Ruben Bain. You know, because New Orleans doesn't really have a pass rush. They signed Chase Young for a 1-year experiment. Chase Young in 2026 isn't really exactly where you want to go. They've taken some swings in the past. Isaiah Foskey was on that defense. That doesn't really move the needle for me. So I think you probably want to bolster that pass rush. Ruben Bain is an option here. You want someone for Tyler Shuck to throw to that isn't Chris Olave, who's out with concussion every other game. That would be Jordan Tyson. It's one of those 2 guys for me.
Matthew?
Look, Tyler Shuck, I'm not really surprised that he played as well as he did last year. I mean, he came into Louisville and he really impressed me, and I wasn't surprised to see that translate over the NFL considering his age, and that hasn't really been too impactful on his career yet. It's just helped him. I think that they do need another receiver other than Chris Olave, so whether that is Jordan Tyson right now, I think it'd be a great spot for him to go. But I am kind of surprised to see him not go either to New York or Tennessee. So I really am interested to see what the Saints do here, but I do think they need a pass catcher no matter what.
Bring up them coming in last place in the NFC South last year and how it came down to the end of the season to see who got that playoff spot. Correct me if I'm wrong here. It feels like the most open division really in the NFL.
There's not a good team in that division, which is why it's so open. Anyone can really jump. It was Carolina?
Yes.
Yes. I mean, are we sure they're going to repeat? No. Bryce Young had an incredible end of the season. Is he going to continue that? Who knows? Probably not. The Buccaneers had an incredible start to the season. They didn't continue it. New Orleans, if they even try to stay somewhat consistent, they could find their way in the playoffs if they make a good pick here. Atlanta, honestly, who even knows at this point what they're trying to do? I'm not sure they have a direction. I'm not sure they know what they're doing, to be honest. It's a blind leading the blind over there. But, again, like you said, it's an open division. New Orleans isn't too far out of contention for that division, to be fair. I think you could put me on the field and I wouldn't be too far out of contention in that division. But, get back on track. New Orleans can bolster. You get a second-year quarterback in Tyler Shuck, who, to be honest, is like his 5th year with his actual current age. You can get back on the board, make a good selection, be competitive, get back to the playoffs for the first time since Drew Brees, I want to say.
When you look at that NFC South division last year, a 3-way tie for first place that Carolina came away with 8-9 with the top 3 teams. You had New Orleans at 6-11. Those last 2 games on the last day of the regular season actually involving the Saints decided who went to the playoffs. I remember those games. Tampa Bay thought that they might have had it. Falcons came back, thought that they had a chance. And, of course, Carolina comes away with it, going to the wild card series. But, you know, when you're looking at this Saints team, they're trying to build something. That pick went in very quickly as well. We've talked a lot about what they might need. They did sign free agent running back Travis Etienne in the offseason as well, 4-year deal where he will be down in the Bayou. Anything else you guys want to put in here before this pick comes?
I don't really have anything. I think whether it's an edge rusher or wide receiver, you can't go wrong if you're the Saints. I really do think if they take anybody outside of that, especially in this prime draft position, it's definitely a miss. I think you've got to surround Tyler Shuck with anybody else other than Chris Olave at this point. But Alvin Kamara and Travis Etienne in the backfield is definitely an improvement. But yeah, I do think that this has to be one of either 2 players, a Ruben Bain or Jordan Tyson.
You know, I actually want to, unrelated to the draft pick, shout out our friend Chase Yance, formerly on the panel here. He was in the chat a little bit earlier, said the fellas. So shout out to him. Now related to the pick, I do agree. It's Jordan Tyson or Ruben Bain here for me. I personally would lean Jordan Tyson, especially if you're trying to bolster that offensive unit. And with Kellen Moore, he's an offensive guy. You want to get your quarterback someone to throw to. I'm sure he would have appreciated that when he was a quarterback back in the day. So maybe target the wide receiver here. Take Jordan Tyson. The biggest concern that you have with that is your top 2 wide receivers are both injury riddled. So hopefully one of the 2's on the field at the time, and maybe you can get a couple games where they're both on the field. But if they can both get healthy, you've got a nice 1-2 there. I would probably target Tyson, but you're not going to be mad at a Ruben Bain or an edge rusher.
Still got some time here before this pick comes in. It's been in for a while for the Saints. We're using up the entirety of the clock here before this goes. I want to ask you guys a quick question here since we are here at the University of Cincinnati. Some Bearcats in the draft for these next few days. Of course, Dante Corleone at one point was projected to go into the first round. Justin, any Bearcats you're going to see go off the board in the next few days?
Yeah, I think tomorrow we probably see 2, maybe 3 Bearcats off the board. Jake Golday will be the first Bearcat taken. And then the wide receiver duo, both Cyrus Allen and Jeff Caldwell. Caldwell rose incredibly due to his RAS score. If you don't know, it's a relative athletic score. Kentley Platt, Math Bomb on Twitter, puts together these athletic testing scores for every single prospect every single year. Gives you like a general score and compares you to past prospects. Jeff Caldwell was like the number 2 wide receiver of all time on like the RAS score, which is just ridiculous. And if you take stock into that, I guarantee you teams take stock into that. So I think we could see Caldwell go tomorrow in the 3rd round. I think we could see Cyrus Allen, speedy slot receiver, route runner is going to get open, go. And then Jake Golday, I think we could see Golday go in the first 45. I think we could see him pretty early on tomorrow as well. So those are just some of the guys I think we could see from UC tomorrow. There's more that could potentially show up in day 3 as well.
Pick is in for the Saints. Goodell is at the podium. Await pick number 8 here in the first round, 2026 NFL Draft. We'll take our time announcing this one. So Jordan Tyson off the board, pick number 8, goes to New Orleans. And here comes the big pick coming up at 9, the Cleveland Browns.
No guarantee they take the pick, Aiden. They may trade it down again. Who knows? But for the Saints and Tyson, we talked about it a lot, but you've got an injury-riddled wide receiver, but he, in my opinion, was the best wide receiver in the class. He's my number 3 player in the entire class. He is going to get open. I mean, the separation that he creates on his routes is just ridiculous. Incredible route tree as well. I mean, he wasn't one of those one-dimensional ins, goes, outs. I mean, he was running pretty much everything at Arizona State. Sam Levitt got him the football. One of the things about Tyson, too, is he's such a scheme wide receiver, but he's not afraid of going up at the catch. He's strong enough, going to go up, make those contested catches. He put up production. He's got good height, 6'2", 203. They have him listed at. That's a little bit bulked up from what he was at the combine, even. So if he had a little bit of weight in his offseason workouts, but you just have a guy who you can count on to get open in Jordan Tyson, which I think you really like to see there. Again, my wide receiver 1, New Orleans gets in there at 9. It's great. It's a great pick in my opinion.
So before we move on to the Browns fan to talk about this Browns pick, give me your thoughts about what Cleveland can do here at number 9.
Look, I'm going to agree with the Browns fan. I do think they just take a tackle. Whatever we're going to see out of the quarterback position, whether it's Deshaun Watson, Shedeur Sanders, or Dylan Gabriel, who knows at this point? We really don't know. They're going to need a tackle. The receiving room is not even that bad, and Quinshon Judkins had a pretty solid rookie season. So I think they do just take an offensive tackle, or maybe they try to pair with an edge rusher, and Ruben Bain still lingering out there, and him and Myles Garrett could be a really nice combo on the edge for Cleveland.
Before you go, Justin, I do want to mention 2022 to 2024, the Browns did not have a first-round pick because of that Deshaun Watson trade. Now it's back-to-back years where they've traded back 3 spots in the first round. They had the number 2 pick last year, traded with the Jaguars so they could get Travis Hunter, ended up taking Mason Graham, the defensive tackle. This year they had the number 6 pick, traded with Kansas City, down to 9. Pick is in very quick. Justin, take over here.
Last year I was happy about the trade down because I didn't want Travis Hunter. Actually, I to be honest, I wanted Abdul Carter, but I knew they were never going to do it. So I was happy with the trade down and getting an extra first-round pick that ended up being in a decent spot. I mean, you would have liked a little bit higher than 24, but you're not bad at any extra first-round pick moving down 3 spots. And you still got the guy who I think Cleveland wanted, even at 2 last year at Mason Graham. This year, I don't really see it. Sure, if they take their top tackle here, you move down 3 spots, pick up some extra picks. None of the tackles went, so that was a success. But if you really wanted one of the wide receivers, you just missed out on your chance to get one of the wide receivers with Tyson and Tate off the board. And I do think, no matter how you spin it, those are the two biggest needs for the Cleveland Browns. You really only have one of them left to address, and you have a second pick at 24, which they have to go wide receiver at 24 now if they go tackle. I do think it depends on who they take here, but maybe it was the right move. I had them taking Spencer Fano at 6 in my final mock. I think this could be Spencer Fano at 9, which again would just give me another half point with the Kansas City trade and put that up to 1 full point, and as far as my final mock goes. I do think this is tackle. I do think this is Fano. I do not believe Maui Noah is in play here. I think this is a Spencer Fano or a long shot Caden Proctor, who apparently the Browns were very interested in the past few days as well. So we shall see. But Fano would be my pick if I was a GM here. That's who I think they're going to go with. But it's the Cleveland Browns, so anything can happen.
We mentioned those 3 picks they didn't have from 2022 to 24. Houston had at one point all 3 of those picks and actually didn't make any of those selections. They all were traded away to some other teams. Sometimes they were traded to 4 different teams holding those selections at some point. The Browns, they're the Browns, we know, because we have multiple Cleveland Browns fans all around here. Chris, do you have anything that you want to add? Do you want to come on screen for this pick and tell us a little bit of your thoughts? You've been behind the camera all day with all of these graphics, doing a great job. Any thoughts and opinions?
I always say that as a Browns fan, I've seen it all, and I really have seen it all. It is becoming embarrassing to be a fan of this team. My dad's been a season ticket holder for 40-plus years. I'm going to live and die with my Browns, but, man, it gets tough. It gets tough, and God is testing me every single day by being a Browns fan. But we're living strong. So, like you guys said, we'll go with the lineman. I'm cool with that, but it's very tough. It's very tough.
Do you want to do me a favor here and read off the 3 players that went at those picks?
Yeah. So like you said, in the we're not going to say his name no more, trade, we gave away 3 first-round picks to the Texans who traded those picks to different teams. Brian Thomas Jr., Jahmyr Gibbs, Jordan Davis.
You might have heard of those 3 before. They all
really?
are.
Oh, you think so, huh?
You might have. Anyway, here comes your Browns pick. Pick number 9 in the first round. 2026 NFL Draft. The Browns trade back from 6 to 9 with Kansas City. This is a big one. There's going to be a reaction in this room when this pick's announced.
Spencer Fano for me. It's my final prediction.
So Justin's correct. Spencer Fano, the offensive tackle from Utah, goes to Cleveland. You guys get your tackle at 9.
It's a good pick, and the trade down ended up working out. I was not happy about it at the time because I was scared that we would miss out on our top tackle or wide receiver. We missed out on the wide receivers. Seems like we wanted Fano anyways at number 6. Traded down, you still get him. They desperately needed to bolster the offensive line. So desperately. I mean, no matter who was in last year, whether it was Joe Flacco or Dylan Gabriel or Shador Sanders, there was no time to throw the football. I mean, you can't blame any of those 3 guys. There's no time to throw the football. Spencer Fano playing on that right side. The Browns may try to move him over to the left. Caleb Lomu, the other Utah tackle, who we may see later tonight, was on that left side. Fano on the right. Either way, you needed to bolster both tackle spots with uncertainty there. DeWanda Jones was injured. He also wasn't good when he played. Jack Conklin's no longer on the team. They've had tackle concerns the past few years. Excuse me. I get so passionate talking about the Cleveland Browns. Matthew, take over for a minute.
Look, he said it. I touched on it too. Like, you have to protect whoever's going to be slinging the football back there, and that's exactly what they went and did. And now this pick at 10, I'm going to go ahead and pivot a little bit. As a Cowboys fan, this has me extremely nervous. I want Caleb Downs more than anything in the world right now. I do think there is a good chance John Harbaugh reaches out and gets the best safety in the class, but also with Ruben Bain still on the board, I could see them going in that direction as well and getting both premier edge rushers.
Already a pick in the first round were the Giants. This originally belonged to the Cincinnati Bengals. Pick number 10. Here we go. This is quick.
Caleb Downs.
Oh. Francis Mauigoa. How about this from Miami? Another tackle going in the top 10. It's your first Miami player off the board in this game or in this draft. What do you guys think?
It was an interesting pick. I had Maui Noah 1 pick later to Miami at 11. Again, another right tackle. He was a guy that a lot of people thought might slide inside to guard. potentially. I do think he's going to be able to stick at tackle. The Giants were not exactly where I thought would be a tackle team, if I'm being 100% honest. Really thought Caleb Downs would go there. They seemed like they really wanted him.
I did too.
They really needed a safety, too, someone on that back end of the defense. But, again, if you want to bolster that offense with Jackson Dart, with Cam Scadaboo, who hopefully will recover from his injury and return the same type of player, Tyrone Tracy as well, the league neighbors, you have a good young core. You get a tackle, you kind of bolster that offensive line, you're not too upset about it. There's a trade with Miami.
And look at who's going to get this pick, Matthew.
Ooh, okay.
Dallas goes.
Okay.
Jumps with Miami. Dallas held 12. 11's going to go to Dallas. We'll see if 12 sticks with the Cowboys or if that goes to Miami. But your Dallas Cowboys are on the clock.
Okay, this is either one of two players. This is Ruben Bain or Caleb Downs. Christian Parker, our new defensive coordinator, has been praising Caleb Downs, saying like there is nobody else in this class just like Caleb Downs. So I would be absolutely thrilled if that's who they end up drafting here at 11. Either or, we need an edge rusher. Obviously, you lose Micah Parsons. But you get Quinnen Williams out of that trade and the other pick later in tonight's draft at 20. So really not a terrible position to be in. But if this is Caleb Downs, I will be extremely, extremely excited in Dallas.
I'm going off of the ESPN draft cast right now. It looks like 12 does go to Miami. They just put it up on the screen there. So we'll wait to see what the rest of this package is. But Dallas Cowboys on the clock. The pick goes in quick. Justin, what you thinking?
Well, the thing is here is they didn't jump anybody. They just swapped spots. So Miami would have had to have been comfortable giving up whoever Dallas wanted. They definitely wanted the same player. I mean, Dallas wanted to get that player. Who it is specifically, we'll find out soon enough. But Miami was also comfortable enough giving up on them to move down this one spot. So that's where it's interesting. I do think Ruben Bain's in play here. They really want the edge rusher. I do think Caleb Downs is in play. I think there is a outside shot for Jermod McCoy here, or a corner potentially, a Colton Hood, maybe a rising Chris Johnson. I doubt that though, because they were a Mansour Delane spot for me at some point as well if he fell. Delane's gone. If you really want to secure a corner before your second pick, that could be an option here, especially because Miami could have been a corner team.
Big reaction from Matthew there. Tell me about it.
Look, I think you can get your choice of corner at 20. I'm not worried about that. I don't think Caleb Downs is going to be around much longer, and that's exactly who I want. That's exactly who, all of Cowboys media has talked about all week is we want Caleb Downs. And I've been pushing that agenda since about week 7 of the NFL regular season, knowing we weren't going to make the playoffs. So I've wanted this pick so bad for so long, and I'm going to be really disappointed if that's not who it is. If it's not either Ruben Bain or Caleb Downs, I'll be extremely, extremely disappointed. Please just not an offensive tackle for the 4th year in a row. That'd be very disappointing. So I'm really interested to see what this can be, but we really need a secondary. We got torched last year, had one of the best offenses in the NFL with George Pickens, Dak Prescott. Javonte Williams was a surprise, 1,200 yards offense from him, but not able to get it done on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, that Week 3 Giants game, Russell Wilson threw for his career high against the Cowboys in Dallas. So you need somebody in that deep secondary that can take things away, be explosive. That's exactly the type of prospect Caleb Downs is. He's been my number 1 player on the board. On my big board, that's exactly who I want at this point in the draft. I cannot wait any longer.
7-9 last year were the Cowboys.
7-9-1.
7-9-1.
We did tie with the Packers.
Got to remember that draw. That's
Yes.
that's on me. And Chris, that's okay. We're all good. We're all good here. Missed the playoffs. That's the big story with that franchise tag on George Pickens. Going to bring him back for one more year. Re-signed Brandon Aubrey as well, the kicker, staying in Dallas. You guys got 2 first-round picks. We're waiting to see full details on that trade. Looks like it's going to be going to Miami, number 12, and then 2 more around 177 and around 180.
It's fine.
Good return for Miami that you're perfectly fine with?
I'm totally fine with that. I mean, realistically, I'm not sure who else we could have really got there. We did talk about the UC Bearcats earlier. I would love Jake Golday. We need a linebacker. I think he's an elite prospect. I would love to take him in the later rounds if he's still there. We don't have a second-round pick this year. Maybe you trade back from that 20 spot. You try to get 2 seconds or something like that. The Cardinals, they still need a quarterback. Maybe they're looking to move up, and I don't know what their draft capital is looking like, but maybe that's an option. But if Caleb Downs really is this pick on the card for the Cowboys, I will be extremely excited with what Christian Parker wants to do. I know that's who he wants. He's on the board. I would not be surprised to see him go here. That's all of Cowboys media has talked this week. Jerry Jones talked about it in his press conference with Stephen Jones and actually Bill Clinton. That's who Bill Clinton wanted the Cowboys to draft, was Caleb Downs, surprisingly enough, in the press conference.
Was there some influence from former President Bill Clinton
You
on
know,
who was going to go here?
you never know. There might have been.
Could have had some type of influence on Jerry Jones down there in Jerry World in Arlington. But Justin, any last thoughts here on the Cowboys and even looking at Miami from their view?
Yeah, I think Miami was comfortable with one of two scenarios. I think they were comfortable with getting Caleb Downs or comfortable with getting Jermod McCoy. They're going to get one of those two. I don't think they really had a preference, which is why they were swapping with Dallas to get whoever they want. I do think this is a defensive back. I do think it can be Caleb Downs, but I still do think it could be Jermod McCoy to secure that boundary corner.
And look, I'm fine with that, but every mock I've seen him pick 20, him or Colton Hood. So if you get one of those two guys at 20, I mean, that's fine. I wanted 2 defensive players in this year's draft. There was some rumor that we were going to draft a wide receiver and Tyson was going to be there at 12. I was never crazy about that. And you think back to 2020, we did that with CeeDee Lamb at 16 and it worked out. But, I just didn't really see the need for that, especially with the season George Pickens had last year for the Cowboys. So long time before we get this pick.
It is. They're taking their time on this one. Cowboys last year taking Tyler Booker, the offensive guard, and pick number 12, actually, back-to-back years having pick number 12. They move up this year to 11. When you look later after that Miami pick, you're going to have the Rams at 13, 14 Baltimore. You get out of the top 15 to Tampa Bay. Then you get some repeats. You got the Jets on the board once again. You get to Detroit, Minnesota, Carolina, and then that's that next Dallas pick. So just to look at some of the upcoming picks you're going to have. Picks been in for a while for the Cowboys. This is the second trade that we've had in the first round. Cowboys move up. Your official trade on this one, 11th goes to the Cowboys, 12th goes to the Dolphins, along with 2 fifth-round picks from the Cowboys. Decent return for the Dolphins. You said you're okay with that trade when it comes from the Cowboys. It's a big pick for this Dallas team. Felt like they needed to move up one spot, and here comes the pick shortly. Any last thoughts before this goes?
If this is not Caleb Downs, I'm going to be really disappointed.
You had the jersey up earlier.
I did.
So here we go. Pick number 11, first round.
Yes!
Caleb Downs from The Ohio State University goes to Dallas. You got your safety.
I did. That's exactly who I wanted. I wanted Caleb Downs. I've said it the last 5 minutes. I'm so pumped about this pick. He played his last college game in Jerry World, so he's going to pick right back off where he left. I could not be more excited about this pick. We needed a defensive player so badly. We finally get one. I know he was in town for a lot of interviews and an extensive pre-draft process. So I truly cannot be more happy with the way that this organization has used this 11th pick. And I really do think that only trading up one spot, you give away 2 fifths. I think that's fine with how you want to play it. I'm not sure exactly what Miami was planning on doing, but if they were planning on taking a defensive back, there is very much a chance that that is who the Dolphins could have taken. And their pick is already in immediately, so had some time to reflect on that too.
How about The Ohio State on the defensive side? 3 players that are defensive players from Ohio State going in the first round in the top 11. How about that, Justin?
I mean, it was a great defense. I mean, there's a reason they were one of the best teams in college football this past season. Unfortunately, the playoffs didn't go the way that they wanted, but they had one of the best defenses all throughout the entire year. They gave Miami some troubles as well. I think when you look at the type of players that Ohio State produces, they're producing athletes, which go high in the drafts typically. Arvell Reese, we talked about it, project, but an incredible athlete. Sonny Styles, I said he was one of the most athletic players that I ever saw on tape. Caleb Downs is a rangy, athletic safety, maybe a slight bit undersized, a slight bit light. You're not going to see him in the box too much in the NFL, but he can center field, he can pull up a little bit, he can cover, he can hit. He might take some hits, but he can hit as well. So you're not too upset about that. But they just produce athletes, Aiden, and that's what ends up getting drafted high. And Caleb Downs is an incredible athlete, an incredible guy. He was recruited by Nick Saban. Let's not forget that. Nick Saban produces incredible players as well. Good pick for Dallas. I mean, it's a really good pick. I had Caleb Downs as my number 10 player, and they get him at 11, so there's value there. I know you had Downs as your 1. There's just differences in the way I view Downs as far as a college player to an NFL player. I see very good player. I see maybe Pro Bowl. I don't see superstar in the NFL, but you're not putting that as a very good player at pick 11.
Before we move on,
I really like the pick. He's got some moves in the return game as well. Did that at Ohio State and Alabama, so I think you get that role potentially unlocked for him as well. I just think he's an amazing athlete, an amazing safety. I wouldn't be surprised to see him drop down on some blitzes as well. So I'm pretty excited to see what they do, and that kind of opens things up at 20. Maybe you lean on the more pass rushing side now that you got your defensive back of choice. So. Yeah, I'm pretty overall excited about Caleb Downs coming to Dallas.
So now we move on to Miami, pick number 12. Of course, this trade with the Cowboys, we mentioned a couple times already. Cowboys go up and get Caleb Downs. Going to 12 now is Miami. Miami last year went 7-10, third place in the AFC East. Fired head coach Mike McDaniel in the offseason and cut QB Tua Tagovailoa. When you guys look at this team, what are you seeing?
A dumpster fire?
Yeah, I was going to say a lot of uncertainty.
I mean, they don't really have a direction in Miami. Malik Willis is cool and all. They gave him 3 years. I think he can be good. Who's he throwing the football to, realistically? Nobody at the moment. Maybe they're a wide receiver spot here. Who's blocking for Malik Willis? Nobody at the moment. Who's running the football? Devon A. Chain. He's a great player. Who's rushing the passer? Nobody. Who's covering the other team? Not really anybody either. So you can pretty much go anywhere except for running back or quarterback and be somewhat happy here if you're a Miami fan. This is really a best player available spot for me. And in my opinion, of course, my number one player is still on the board in Ruben Bain. So that would be who I would target. But
Who wouldn't have to move, by the way.
yeah, just stay in Miami, which would be incredible for him and his family as well. Go see games, all the time, right in the same stadium
There
as
you
well.
go.
Yeah, I do think there is a wide receiver shot here, as well as defensive back.
Would your wide receiver be Lemon?
It would be Mekhi Lemon. I don't think there's another wide receiver. Of course, Denzel Boston's my wide receiver too, which is not everyone agrees with me on that one. But as far as projection, I would take him here. But as far as projection go, it wouldn't have Boston this high. So Lemon, Bain, or DB for me.
2 first-round picks this year for the Dolphins. Pick is in. Here it comes. And would you look at that? Caden Proctor, offensive tackle from Alabama. Chris Fagan called this one coming in the first round. Justin, this is the swing that you did not see coming for someone that's outside of your first and really second round draft grades.
If I have to do searching on page 2, 58th player for me in the class. Let me mark down 12 to Miami. That's crazy. 58th player, 6th ranked offensive tackle. He is the definition of you have such an incredible athlete. I mean, there is maybe not anyone more athletic in this entire draft class than him. He's 6'7", 6'8", incredible size, moves around so fluidly at the tackle spot. And then you have that athletic frame, and you take away all technical ability and all football ability, and you call it an offensive tackle. That's Caden Proctor. He needs to learn footwork. He needs to have a plan with his hands. He doesn't know what he's doing with them. He just puts them out there and hope the pass rusher can't get around him. He doesn't really move. For being that athletic, he's kind of like a cinder block at times. Doesn't really move off. He's a good run blocker. He's a mauler in the run game. He's going to get beat in the pass game, especially if he's starting right away in his rookie year. I just have so many concerns when you take an athletic skeleton and try to turn him into a football player. Typically, that doesn't pan out well. It doesn't have a high success rate.
So before the draft started, we took a look at your top 12 players coming in. Let's take a quick look at it now that we are 12 picks in. There's some names up there, specifically number 1, Ruben Bain, that's still available. But you look at all those other names that are crossed out. Did pretty well on this one, Justin. Starting off quick.
Yeah, again, Bain is somebody who's going to go tonight. It's just I knew there was going to be a slide with the short arms. Jermod McCoy as well. When I'm going for my big board, I didn't really take the injury concerns into account. I mean, I know he's an incredible player. We last saw him play in 2024, but his 2024 tape was CB1-like, So I'm not too concerned about the ACL injury for Jermod McCoy. He was practicing. Reports were that he could have even played this year at Tennessee, but they both mutually agreed it was best for his future to not and to focus on the draft. And Caleb Banks, he's the other player left out there for me on my big board. He also had injury concerns. We didn't really see a lot of him this past season, but when Caleb Banks was on the field, he was top 10 worthy. It's just we didn't see it, a lot, not a lot of snaps, not a lot of film from him this year. So there's a concern there. But when I watched Caleb Banks, I saw, number 11 player in the class. I saw a top 15 guy. I still think there's a good chance that he will go tonight. But overall, I'm not bad with how the board has shaken out so far. LA has the pick in now. In my final mock, I had a Makai Lemon
So
here.
I'm going to go in a little bit different direction than you. I think this is Kenyon Sadiq.
Oh, interesting.
I think
Okay.
if you give Kenyon Sadiq, he's probably the overall best tight end in the class. I don't think anybody's going to disagree with you on that. I think if you give him to Sean McVay, I think he could have a lot of fun working with him. Just a big, strong, athletic tight end. I think that's something that the Rams are missing. I mean, they have their athletic pass catchers. You have Puka Nacua, who's probably a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL, a solid offensive line, Kyron Williams. Like, you have a lot of great things working for you there. I think all they're missing is just a really solid tight end, and I think they can get him right here at pick 13.
I wouldn't hate that. You know, I mean, Sadiq, he's not your traditional tight end either. He's a little bit undersized, so he's not going to be a full-time inline tight end, which is what we saw from a guy who went in the first round last year, Colson Loveland. Well, he wasn't a traditional inline tight end. Tyler Warren was. And then the best rookie tight end, in my completely unbiased opinion, Harold Fannin Jr., was also not a traditional inline tight end. So you see those guys go high and produce these days, and Sadiq is similar to that. So I definitely wouldn't mind that pick, and I could see that as a full possibility for LA. I also think with some of their wide receivers entering the last years of their deal, they're a little bit weak. You know, you love Puka Nacua. And now what else do you got there? Makai Lemon. Great slot. He's going to be in the slot. I mean, that's the thing with Makai Lemon. You have to accept that he's going to be a full-time slot. He's 5'11". You can switch him on the boundary for certain sets, but you're not going to have him on the boundary too much. But he just gets open. You know, every time you watch him on tape, he's making a quick break and he just gets open. I would love Makai Lemon here. That's who I have. It's probably who I would take as well if I was the GM. I mean, and Ruben Bain, he's my number one. So Ruben Bain or Makai Lemon, but they don't necessarily need edge here. So I would target Makai Lemon if I was the GM.
Pick number 13 originally belonged to the Atlanta Falcons. Now, of course, belongs to the Rams. They went 12-5 last year, lost in the NFC Championship to eventual Super Bowl champions, the Seattle Seahawks. Matt Stafford, 18th season in the NFL, MVP, working on a potential contract extension as well. Thoughts on him and the longevity he has now in LA?
Well, see, that's the other question too, Aiden, is do they take Ty Simpson here? Do they like what they see out of him? I personally don't think he's worth taking at 13. Is that what's going to happen? I have no clue. I still think I'm going to go back to what I originally said. Kenyon Sadiq, I think, is who you should take here. I don't think that's the wrong pick. You look at that NFC Championship game you brought up, that final drive. How many times could they have used a tight end that they could have checked the ball down to throughout that? They couldn't have that. I think that this gives you that missing piece on that offense that they need. But going back to, are they going to take a quarterback? I have no clue. I don't know what you think, Justin. I know you're not high on Ty Simpson at all, but that look says everything we need to know.
No, I mean, I know I had Ty Simpson in the second round. I got to see exactly where I placed him. 52, quarterback 2. I mean, sure, he's a good player. Start of the season, you liked what you saw from him. Accurate. When you look at athletic traits, I mean, there's little to none. You know, the arm strength isn't incredible. He's not going to move very fast or very much at all. He's also not very tall or very bulky, you know? So none of that is good, but he's accurate, and he can throw the football pretty well, and he's a pretty smart player. And he did play the end of the year injured, so that wasn't the premier Ty Simpson that we saw towards the end of the year. But would I take him in the first round? Not a shot. If it was me, if I was a GM. There's a potential for it, though. I mean, the Rams, earlier today, Sean McVay addressed the possibility of quarterback with Jimmy Garoppolo retiring. So you need to prepare for life beyond Matthew Stafford. It's not going to be Stetson Bennett, let me tell you. So what does that look like? Could be Ty Simpson.
I do want to ask you all, since this pick did originally belong to the Atlanta Falcons, one of the teams we're not going to see make a pick in the first round. One of those teams, I think the best way to describe them, they feel like they're in purgatory right now. They can't really escape from being kind of that middle of the pack. What do you guys think of them and the future they've got ahead of them?
Atlanta reminds me of someone stuck in an Arby's drive-thru and they're never going to escape, but they really desperately want the roast beef sandwich that they're not ever going to get. Because they're just chasing mediocrity, and they're stuck in that drive-thru. All right? They don't have a direction. There's a clear path for them to turn out of the drive-thru and get out and do something different. They're not going to do it. They're genuinely just not going to do it. So
I do want to apologize to any Arby's fans we might have out there.
So yeah, I do apologize. I'm not an Arby's fan. I mean,
for that one, but
great curly fries, all right popcorn chicken. I'm not going for the roast beef sandwich.
the pick is in for LA. LA, a lot of ways they could go here. Not a team we're used to really seeing picking in the first round either. Of course, McVay, one of those guys that doesn't really love to draft
Let's trade
often.
every single draft pick.
It's kind of weird to see them trade into the first round as well. Pick is in. We're waiting Roger Goodell. Of course, they did actually trade away their actual first-round pick, fittingly. But look at that. Look who they're showing in the green room. Ty Simpson. Phone's not ringing.
No smile,
not
no
quite
phone.
yet. It's an Alabama quarterback. Never know what you're going to get there.
Could be Jalen Hurts or could be Mac Jones.
Or Bryce Young.
Or Bryce
Healthy
Young.
middle.
Healthy middle, yeah.
I was thinking A.J. McCarron, now head coach of the Birmingham Stallions.
That's right. He's got DTR this week.
He does.
Starting on ESPN tomorrow.
Got rid of Matt Corral. Anyway, here comes the pick from L.A. Would you look at that? Matthew, you kind of spoke that one into existence there. Ty Simpson goes 13th to the LA Rams. Second quarterback off the board in this draft. Ty Simpson, a guy who Justin had as a second-round guy. This is the first quarterback drafted from Alabama since Bryce Young was the number 1 overall a couple years ago. Mac Jones, also a first-round pick for Alabama not that long ago. But what are you guys thinking?
We'll see. You bring up Bryce Young, who's a starter in the NFL now, and you bring up Mac Jones, who's on his third team in 4 years. So this could go a lot of different ways. But again, you think back to the Packers, what they did with Jordan Love, Aaron Rodgers, closing things down in Green Bay. This is very much a situation where I understand that Sean McVay is an elite football coach, right? Everybody knows that he's an elite football coach, the youngest Super Bowl winning head coach from the cradle of coaches at Miami of Ohio. But he's going to come in here, take Ty Simpson, who he believes is going to be the future of the Los Angeles Rams, and letting him go under a guy like Matthew Stafford, the MVP of the league, doing it in his late 30s, I think is just absolutely interesting. I guess that's the only way to describe it. It's not idiotic. It's not stupid. It's just interesting. You know, Ty Simpson's going to go out to L.A. and probably just sit behind Stafford for at least a season, maybe 2, depending on that contract extension Aiden was talking about. But I'll be interested to see what he can do in that, backup role for the meantime.
Justin, the face you're giving me reminds me of a couple years ago when we saw Bo Nix go off the board.
And it definitely isn't as bad as that because I had Bo Nix as like a 4th, 5th round grade. I mean, he's genuinely terrible in my mind. And so far, he's proved me slightly wrong. But Ty Simpson, again, there is some good. There is some things to like. An accurate player, he's a smart player. Alabama isn't the greatest quarterback factory. There are some good players that come out of there, and then there are some Mac Joneses. But, again, smart, going to be able to throw the football accurately. You don't really need an insane athlete in a Sean McVay offense. Matthew kind of touched on that. You can see what Ty Simpson could do with Sean McVay at the helm. He's going to do enough, but is just enough going to be able to win you a Super Bowl? Get you back there? I don't really know. I don't think so. I wouldn't have taken Ty Simpson in the first round. The top available spot for me for Ty Simpson would have been at 33, top of the second round. That's the earliest I would have taken him, and probably even a little bit later. If you're a Rams fan here, in your last few years of trying to compete with Matthew Stafford, you're prepping for the future. It's a little bit bittersweet because you want to make the most of probably the last season of Matthew Stafford. But you do need to bridge your future. So it was a tough decision for them to make. This does remind me a lot of Jordan Love, Aaron Rodgers, where sure, you need to compete with Aaron Rodgers, but you also need to prepare for the future, and you draft Jordan Love in the first round, which caused some Packers fans to almost explode at the time. I'm sure there's some Rams fans, if Rams fans even exist in L.A., to be honest. I'm sure there are some Rams fans that are not happy about this, but some that are very happy.
In St. Louis, specifically.
Yeah, there are more Rams fans in St. Louis than there are in L.A.
So Ty Simpson goes number 13 to L.A. We'll take a look at our draft recap here. Went chalk, of course, up top. Fernando Mendoza going number 1 overall to Las Vegas. Cardinals drafted Jeremiah Love at number 3. Ty Simpson going in the first round, second QB off the board. Ohio State, 4 players drafted in the first 11, 3 of those being defensive guys. And then Ruben Bain, still available after 12, make that 13 picks. Now, Justin, that's your number 1 guy. Anything else to add to this?
I saw the slide coming. I mean, I really did. In my final mock, I didn't have him until 12. So I did see a slight slide with the arm length. Did I think he'd make it to potentially Tampa Bay, which, one pick away would be a home run pick for them, as they desperately need an edge rusher, and keeping him in the same state of Florida would be incredible. I didn't think he'd make it there. I didn't think he'd make it to Baltimore at 14 either, who could potentially target an edge rusher, and their pick is in now. But I'm a slight bit surprised, but at the same time, I did see a little slide coming for Ruben Bain, but I know that the type of talent that he is, whatever team gets him is going to be happy, and it's going to be incredible value, too.
Baltimore, another one of these teams that we've gotten used to being really strong. Didn't have the year they wanted last year. 8-9, missing the playoffs. Of course, lost in Week 18 to lose the AFC North title. John Harbaugh, out after 18 seasons in Baltimore. Jesse Minter, the new head coach. Of course, they signed free agent Trey Hendrickson. And here comes pick number 14, Baltimore. This could be an interesting pick here, depending on which way they go.
I think this is another Kenyon Sadiq possible team. I think Mark Andrews getting older. I think giving Lamar a reliable check down is something that they could use, especially losing Isaiah Likely.
I think this is Vega Owane. I think we see our first interior offensive lineman off the board.
Of course, the Steelers fans not big fans of Baltimore having this pick. In Pittsburgh,
Yeah.
and there you go. There's your guard, Penn State. Another guard off the board. Baltimore goes in the O-line.
Another point on the board for me, too.
There you go.
I had Vega Owane going here at 14. Baltimore desperately needed a guard. They desperately needed to address the interior. Vega Owane is by far the best interior offensive lineman in this class. You can stay. You can get a good player. Baltimore does this every year. I feel like they don't ever have to move around, and they get the top player that they would want that addresses their biggest need. Really like this pick for them. I think they don't do anything flashy, over there right now. This is a new regime in Baltimore as well. You have to remember that. But they take a need, bolster that offensive line. Owane was rock solid at Penn State. The NFL doesn't really value the interior. You're not going to see him really in the top 10. But once you get out of that top 10, especially in this 14 range, which would be the end of the NBA lottery, which I still think it's insane that there's a lottery, by the way. If the NFL ever did that, I would crash out.
Separate conversation.
Yeah. But, again, you address a need, you stick and pick, you get a great player. They just showed him flexed out in the slot. Goodness, what a rep. Pretty sure I remember watching that at some point. UCLA against UCLA tape. I don't know if we're going to be watching
How about that? How about that
UCLA.
matchup? Conference game.
But
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Chris, behind it. Chris, you have any thoughts on a division rivals pick?
The Ravens are a weird team. I feel like they're the type of team that they'll draft someone in the 4th round and they're like a star, and it's annoying because usually they're from Ohio State. Malik Harrison, that's another choice. But the Raptors are a bad team. And I don't like them.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it.
So moving on to pick 15, this belongs to Tampa Bay. Pick is in very quickly. Justin, you mentioned it earlier. There's some big names on the board. Matthew, what are you thinking when you see this Buccaneers team that was in that NFC South battle?
Look, I think that they were just struggling on the defensive side of the ball. Look, Baker Mayfield has really revitalized his career after the Browns didn't really go his way, and he's found a home in Tampa Bay, and I think that's great. They lose Mike Evans in free agency this year, but they still retain some of their key players on their offense. Bucky Irving, one of the best running backs in the NFL. But I ultimately think that this is where Ruben Bain is going to fall. It's been too long. I don't think that the Bucs are going to wait any longer. I think that they're going to try to keep Ruben Bain in the state of Florida, and I'm pretty positive that's what they're going to do here.
Justin, what are you thinking here with this Tampa Bay team?
I think it's an edge rusher, and I would have said Akeem Mesidor, another Miami edge rusher, but with Ruben Bain still on the board, I think this is probably Ruben Bain. But I think edge is your top need. There is a Kenyon Sadiq spot here. I could even see Mekhi Lemon still on the board. No Mike Evans anymore in Tampa Bay. Maybe address the receiver room. But I do think this is an edge rusher. I do think this is Ruben Bain or still Akeem Mesidor, who they were most heavily connected to in the pre-draft process.
One of the many teams at 8-9 in the NFC South last year missed the playoffs on the last day, re-signed tight end Cade Otton to a 3-year extension in the offseason, along with bringing in Kenneth Gainwell to the running back room. Tampa Bay, just another one of those teams that feels like they're kind of in that mid spot. You guys talk about bringing stuff in on the defensive side, especially at that edge rushing position, but we're reaching that part of the draft where you got a lot of teams you guys mentioned earlier could go just best player available depending on who is there. Some big names, specifically in Ruben Bain, still on the board. Kind of reaching that middle part of the draft where things kind of just pull a little bit further away, too, as TV's getting a few more commercials in between these picks as well.
Yeah, I think the Buccaneers are an interesting team. You know, they were doing their best to.
We've reached the midway point, so thank you for that one, Justin. Continue on, Matthew.
You know, the Bucs are a team that are interesting to me. You think back to the start of last season, they're about week 6. Baker Mayfield looked like he was in MVP form. I mean, he was doing all the right things in Tampa Bay and trying to succeed at the highest possible level. And then they just hit this giant landslide in the middle of the season where they fall down with a losing record. And I think the roster they have is good enough to compete, especially in the NFC South. I mean, the Falcons aren't going to really be too much of a threat. The Saints, who really knows, and the Panthers, I doubt that they can do what they did this season again. I think the Bucs are going to be the most well-equipped team to take that division back, and grabbing a edge rusher or a corner or something like that is going to be a very high value. The only reason I don't think they take Kenyon Sadiq is because of that Cade Otton extension. He's pretty solid, pretty reliable, so I don't really see a crazy need to go get him unless you really want that extra playmaking ability. But I really do believe that the Bucs are going to take a defensive player here, and it's going to be an edge rusher right here.
So we just had brought up the ads that are now being kind of inserted in between all these picks now, and one of them had Jokic from the Nuggets. You might remember where he was picked in the second round during a Taco Bell ad. One of my favorite fun facts about drafts. Justin, you had an
specific
interest.
burrito was that?
If someone knew the answer, it would be you, since you are the Taco Bell guy.
Which burrito was Jokic selected?
Chet's putting up shots back there.
Quesadilla burrito. Okay.
There you go.
Oh, the quesarito. Yeah, there you go.
He had to get specific with it to make sure he knew
Give me the
specifically.
full government name of the quesarito. All right.
An NBA update coming from Chris over there on the sidelines. Fourth quarter, 2:30 to go between the Hawks and the Knicks. 103-99. The Hawks lead the Knicks. So there you go.
Could be Hawks 2, Knicks 1.
It could be that. Hawks too. But through 14 picks, 5 defensive players, 9 offensive, 4 of those being on the offensive line. Tampa Bay with pick number 15 in the first round here. Buccaneers finished 8-9 last year in the NFC South, missed the playoffs on the last day. Commissioner Roger Goodell heading to the podium. Guys, any last thoughts, any last predictions here?
Edge rusher, Bader Mesidor.
I'm going Ruben Bain.
Ruben Bain falls to 15 to Tampa Bay. He stays in Florida, coming from the University of Miami. There's your number 1 pick, or your number 1 player on your big board, Justin, going off the board.
I mean, it's an A-plus pick. Incredible value at 15 to get the number 1 player on the board. I think a lot of teams had him higher, but there were just concerns you're not going to take the guy with the short arms. Again, like I said in the pre-show, there has never been an all-pro edge rusher or Pro Bowl edge rusher with sub-31-inch arms. Ruben Bain has sub-31-inch arms. You have to take that bet that he's going to be the exception, but he is such an incredibly powerful edge rusher. He gets off, look at that, 30, just 1/8 of an inch off of those 31-inch arms. Short is the shortest by the first-round edge rusher since 2003. You don't see these guys go in the first round, let alone this high at 15. But Bain is the exception. Incredible size, incredible power off the line. He's going to push you back. Even with the shorter arms, he's going to still get that point of contact, push you back. He's great with the hands, which makes up for it. You know, he's got a good pass rush plan. You can swim. No, I'm not an edge rusher, but you get the swim, right? You get around. He is slightly bendy off the edge as well, which you need to see for your edge rushers. You kind of need to get around. You need by bending how much you can kind of angle yourself to get around the off the tackle after the quick step. Bain has all that. He has all the tools to be an all-pro. If his arms were half an inch shorter, he would have been the number 2 overall pick.
I agree, but I also think if you just watch the tape and you watch what he can actually do, like I get that measurables are important, but I think they get overlooked all the time. I don't think that sometimes you need to see, oh, this guy has he's got 7/8 inches of an arm less than the traditional edge rusher. There's never been a Pro Bowler, like you said. I think if you just watch this guy, I mean, he's going to get off the line extremely explosive with a lot of power and brute force, and I think that's exactly what the Buccaneers need.
So now we move on to pick number 16, belongs to the New York Jets, their second first-round pick of the night. This originally belonged to the Indianapolis Colts. We're going to wait for Hayden to get back in to get his thoughts on this soon. And actually, he just left the room completely. So maybe not going to get Hayden's thoughts on this, with the Colts not having their pick in this one. 16th overall, of course, Ruben Bain, the number 1 big board player for Justin. We were just told Hayden's going to be gone for a little bit here, so we'll see whenever he gets back up into the room with us. Do want to give a shout out to Chris, Chet, and Drew for holding down the fort here as well. Guys, when you're looking at this Jets team, 2nd pick already in the first round, what you thinking here?
I think you got to take a wide receiver. I don't know who else they're going to have. I mean, they have Garrett Wilson and A.D. Mitchell, but that's really about it. It's not a great,
A.D. Mitchell
not a
in
great
2026.
supporting cast, and we still don't really know who's going to be the quarterback. We assume it's going to be Geno Smith, but it could also be Tyrod Taylor if he's still kicking it. So we really don't know what could happen. I don't think that there's any quarterback that you'd really want to take at this point in the draft, especially if you're the Jets. I think you're just going to have to go with the best player available. And that might be Mekhi Lemon. That's who I would probably take if I'm the Jets right now. Or maybe they want to take an offensive tackle. Monroe Freeling is still out there as well. So I bet you it's one of those 2 players.
Yeah, I had wide receiver in my final mock. I had Omar Cooper Jr., who I still think this is who it's going to be. But Mekhi Lemon wasn't on the board again at this point in my final mock, so you have to account for that. He could still be on the board. Wide receiver, as I think the pick, I do think it's one of Mekhi Lemon or Omar Cooper Jr. Personally, I think I'd still lean Omar Cooper because they were heavily linked to him in the pre-draft process. They brought him in for a visit. They flew him to New York. They didn't do that with Mekhi Lemon. Maybe because they didn't expect him to be here on the board, which is a complete impossibility. But wide receiver's the pick. One of those 2 guys. Again, you have to remember, Lemon is going to be restricted to slot receiver only. Omar Cooper played on the boundary at Indiana. He's going to play on the boundary in the NFL. So how much do you take that into account if you're the Jets? Some teams take that heavily into account. Some don't.
Lemon's been a name that we've brought up many times so far tonight. It's probably the 6th or 7th pick where we've heard it brought up so far. As we get to pick number 16, first round, 2026 draft. The Jets pick is in. Roger Goodell heading to the podium. See where they go here. So there you go, your first tight end. Kenyon Sadiq goes to New York. The Jets go with the tight end from Oregon. Guys, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I'm been high on Kenyon Sadiq for honestly the last 2 years now. I think he's just such an exciting playmaker that the Jets are going to love to use, and especially if you're uncertain about who the quarterback is going to be, he's definitely going to be a safe option for you to use up in New York. So I am pretty excited to see what he can do for the Jets, see what he can produce in his rookie season.
Yeah, I like the player. I don't like the fit. I don't think this makes a lot of sense at all for New York, if I'm being honest. He's a good player. 8 touchdowns last year at Oregon, a little bit undersized. He's less of an inline tight end, more of a outside kind of threat tight end who can flex inside. And he's got blocking chops as well. I don't see the positional value here, especially when you invested a decently high pick. I believe it was a 3rd-round pick into Mason Taylor out of LSU last year, who, when he got playing time, which was a big win, he played well. And he put up numbers, and he showed flashes. And Mason Taylor was a young project. He was a 20-year-old draft pick, I believe. Young project tight end that they took last year that they seem to be almost giving up on, going a first-round tight end who is a similar non-inline guy. I think they needed a pass catcher, but I just think it would have made more sense to go wide receiver.
Part of me is also just thinking Dante Moore is going to be out there next year, right? I don't anticipate the Jets being too good. I think they'll be in a good position. Are you potentially looking at an early reunion with Dante Moore and Kenyon Sadiq in New York? I think that's a high possibility at this point. And I would say that it'd be a good thing for the Jets. I mean, the Jets have been struggling to find their quarterback for the last couple of years. They tried the Aaron Rodgers experiment. That didn't really work out too well. Before that, it was Sam Darnold, who had turned out to be a Super Bowl winning quarterback, just not for the New York Jets. So it feels like they can't win at any position. So I really do think that Kenyon Sadiq is going to set them up for their future. I just don't think it's going to be the best pick right now for them next season.
2 quick notes on this from the Jets' perspective. David Bailey, their first pick. Their second one goes with Kenyon Sadiq. Sadiq is also the first Oregon tight end drafted in the first round since 1975. So when you take a look at that, been a little while since you had a tight end from Oregon go that high. Now we're going to move to pick number 17, which belongs to the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, I hate Caden Proctor here. Proctor's obviously gone. I do think the Lions still take tackle. When you look at who's still available at the offensive tackle spot, you see Caleb Lomu, who is a left tackle. You see Monroe Freeling, who is a left tackle with not a lot of starting experience, but he was a postseason riser. He's a pre-draft riser between the end of season, combine, and now draft day. Could see him potentially here. I think this is a little bit too high for Ian Nakor. I don't think he goes here. I think he goes in the first. Not this high, but it depends on how Detroit, views him. He played on the left. Can he play on the right? I don't know exactly. There's a little bit of a learning curve when you switch everything. Everything's complete opposite if you try to move from one side to the other, and it's way easier for guards to do that than it is for tackles. So I'm not sure how Detroit's going to view that. And then there's Blake Miller, who's also on the board, he's been a lot of draft circles recently. Peter Schrager was very, very confident that Blake Miller goes in the first round. I have him to the Texans, I believe. I do have him to the Texans later at pick 28, but I do believe Blake Miller is a first-round tackle who could go to the Lions. Again, he had a lot of starting experience at Clemson, starting since he was a freshman. So if that's something that Detroit really values, then that could be the guy here. Blake Miller also, shout out, he went to the hometown high school for me, Strongsville High School, Cleveland, Ohio.
Look at that. You can hear the noise coming from off camera there, but still.
Chris, we have no beef with Strongsville High School, man. Our high schools have beef, but we have no beef with Strongsville.
Skeezy?
Anyway, back to Detroit with pick number 17. I did get it. I got it for you.
Right.
There you go. Shout out Micah Richards over there on the sideline for us. Detroit pick number 17 here as Hayden now re-enters for us as well. Hayden, I wanted to get your thoughts on that last pick. It was the Jets at number 16.
Don't worry, I still was watching the show.
It originally belonged to your Indianapolis
Yeah,
Colts.
no.
Can we get your thoughts on the Colts' current team right now?
I think they've got a pretty good team so far. They have kind of gone with the strategy of get everybody healthy again and just try again the next season. Kind of keeping up with the same guys that they've already got before. They lose Pittman to the Steelers, of course, and you lose Zaire Franklin. But I think they're going to target. My hope would be that they target linebacker with their second round pick. But I mean, honestly, I think the Jets kind of whiffed on that choice there. So I'd rather a team that traded up kind of do whatever they want with it and kind of take a shot at somebody who probably they could have gotten at the second round anyways. So I'd rather them kind of whiff on the pick almost. It's going to be ours.
You've got a former Bearcat on that roster now, Sauce Gardner, that was involved with that pick. Thoughts on how Sauce is shaping up out there in Indy?
Well, he's so far, as of last season, the losingest player in the NFL because he went from the Jets to the Colts, and the Jets were doing really bad, and then he went to the Colts, and the Colts did really bad. So thus far, not great. But I have faith in Sauce. I have faith in Alec Pierce. Both Bearcat grads. I love a good Bearcat player on the hometown team. But we'll see when we get there. So
here comes Detroit's pick with number 17 in the first round. Pick is in, guys. You got any last thoughts on this pick for Detroit before it happens?
In my mock, I had C.J. Allen, the linebacker from Georgia, going here. So I think that could be what this is. With Anzalone departing, I think that could be a good need for the Lions. And I think Dan Campbell would just love to get an all-around great defensive player.
I think it's definitely a tackle. Now, which one? That's the question. Miller, Lomu. There was another name I had thrown out there. Maxi Hanakor and Monroe Freeling as well. I think it's a tackle. Just which one does Detroit value the most?
So pick number 17, first round, belongs to the Detroit Lions. Here comes the pick. The pick is Blake Miller, offensive tackle to Clemson, or from Clemson. The Lions get their tackle.
We threw that name out there, the hometown kid. I actually saw him play in high school, back as a Mustang. He's a good player, a lot of experience at Clemson. He's starting since he was a freshman. He is on that right side. Miller is a right tackle. You're going to have to kick him out into the left side if you want to. I believe he did have some starts at left tackle as Clemson moved around a lot. 6'6", great size. The bulk of his work was at right tackle, though. The thing with Blake Miller is he's not going to be an exceptional mover in space, but he gets the job done. He's experienced. He is strong. He doesn't get beat by power. He gets beat by speed, which can be a concern sometimes, but he's also really good in the run game. A lot of times when you're drafting these top-end tackles, you're like, okay, do we prioritize pass blocking, run blocking? Miller can do both at a good level. He's not elite at anything, but you're okay with that as maybe a cornerstone tackle, and Detroit really needed to address that spot. So I like the pick. And he's staying pretty close to home, being from the Cleveland area. Detroit's not too far. You like that?
We've seen 5 linemen go so far, 4 tackles, 1 guard. You guys kind of expect this run on linemen this early through 17 picks?
Look, I think if you're in a position to draft somebody that you deem as a key offensive lineman that can start for your franchise for a long time, I think it's absolutely necessary to take it. As a Cowboys fan, I've seen that for the last several years. They're not always drafting the most explosive playmaker the last couple of seasons outside of the Mozzie Smith draft choice in 2023. It has mostly been offensive linemen. They've built themselves up into a pretty steady unit, even including Tyler Booker last year, who struggled to start the season. But now he's morphed himself into a solid pick. The Vikings pick was in right away. I do think this is Gerard McCoy.
I think this is Dylan Thieneman from Oregon.
Not wasting any time here with Minnesota. Pick 18 on the way. Caleb Banks.
Wow.
Defensive tackle from
There we
Florida.
go.
So another one in your top 12 that now gets off the board. That was number 11 on your big board. Justin, for Minnesota, they went 9-8 last year, missed the playoffs, signed Kyler Murray to a 1-year deal in the offseason. What are you guys thinking?
I absolutely love this pick. I had Banks as my number 11 player, and the problem with Caleb Banks is we just didn't see a lot of him, in 2025. Wasn't on the field a lot. He had some injury concerns. But when you saw Caleb Banks out there, 6'6", 330 pounds, and he's a monster of a man. When you saw him out there playing that 3-4 defensive end, playing the nose position, he was a game wrecker. He's an incredible run defender, space eater in the middle, is what we like to call it. The thing with Banks, too, is he can rush the passer as well, which there's incredible value from an interior defensive lineman who can rush the passer. Banks has all of that. When he is on the field, he was a top 5 talent, in my opinion. You just had to address the injury concerns and the lack of film that you actually have from him. But what you saw on film was a top 5 player. Incredible.
We got a big news coming from the sidelines right now. A trade involving pick number 20 that belongs to Dallas. It's heading to a division rival in Philadelphia.
The last time we did this, we gave them Devontae Smith, so I have no clue what we're going to get in return. I'm hoping a second-round pick. I think that'd be nice. I like having something in the second round. Hopefully, it's somewhat similar to the Miami trade. We just kind of trade back with the Eagles. Look, I can't get too frustrated. They got who I wanted. Carolina now on the clock, but that's interesting. I'm surprised Dallas is trading back from 20. 20, I wanted Caden McDonald. I think pairing him with Quentin Williams up front would have been a really nice combo. Maybe that is who the Eagles are looking to get, but knowing the way they draft, I'm going to guess it's going to be C.J. Allen. The Philadelphia Bulldogs never fail to exist. So I think that's a real possibility.
So that trade has gone official. The official details of it. Eagles receive number 20. Dallas going to receive 23, 114, and 137.
That's totally fine with me.
So
That's
pretty
quite a
good deal.
in my
Yeah.
opinion. 114 is a valuable pick there.
To read off what Chris just told us, fleeced, the exact wording he used on that. So you get his opinions from the sidelines over here.
I appreciate that.
Carolina on the clock. We'll wait till we get to pick 20 to really break down that one. Carolina, an interesting team. They, of course, made the playoffs last year in the wild card, losing to the Rams. They went 8-9 in the regular season. They signed 2 linebackers in the offseason. Got a couple needs on the defensive side to these Panthers teams.
They need a lot of help. I had them as a Kenyon Sadiq team previously, just because there really wasn't a guy there at tight end for Bryce Young to throw to. Defensively, though, I do think Carolina can target one of the top remaining edge rushers. They traded away Brian Burns. They really need some help on the edge spot. They signed Jalen Phillips, who's a good get. but you can never have too much pass rush. I think we could see Keldrick Falk. When I mentioned pass rush, he's an edge rusher, but he does everything but rush the passer as an edge rusher. He's an incredible run defender, a little bit more of a project on the pass rush. I think we could see maybe a big rise from Malachi Lawrence out of UCF, who I was skeptical being a first-round pick. A lot of the experts seem to be pretty confident that he will be. I mean, he's an incredible athlete with a combine, Shrine Bowl riser. So we could potentially see Malachi Lawrence up here if they're going to go edge. Or one of the guys who was seen as a top 5 talent all the way back last summer, TJ Parker, who had a little bit of a down season, but I'm still confident that he's a first-round player. I do think it's defense for Carolina, though. I do think it's defense.
Jermod McCoy is the only name from your top 12 that's still on the board right now as we reach pick number 19. You got a couple other guys still within the 20 range. You, of course, got Mekhi Lemon, who it seems like we've brought up almost every pick ever since around that 7-8 mark, still out there. Who knows what's really going to come there as we go down towards the late part of the first round. Is there any names that you're still seeing out there, maybe that you have for a second-round grade that you wouldn't be surprised if they jump into the first?
I do think we're going to see my 38th player, Ihenakor. It's one of those two. I haven't exactly gotten the pronunciation down on him. Max, the offensive tackle from Arizona State. I do think we see him in the first round. He is my 38th player. I think there's an outside shot at my 34th, Chase Basantis, as well on the interior offensive line. Again, this is a weak interior class, and there are guys, there are teams heavily needing of the interior. Los Angeles Chargers, they're one of them. The Eagles are another. The Seahawks are another. I do think we see a little bit of a run on interior, like we've seen tackles. So I think those are two guys as well as far as like second-round guys that could jump their way in. But watch out for Traden Stukes. Nobody knows who this guy is, but we know who Traden Stukes is, but nobody pays attention to Traden Stukes. But he's a safety corner hybrid who can kind of be all over the place as a defensive back. Wouldn't be surprised to see his name called.
Here comes pick number 19 from Carolina. Monroe Freeland, offensive tackle from Georgia, going to Carolina. Chris loves that pick over there on the sidelines for us. Freeland, big dude, second team, all SEC. SEC champion as well, had a great pass blocking grade. Look at that pressure rate, 1.8%. How about that?
Really good season. If you would have asked people about Monroe Freeland in December, they probably wouldn't have known his name. You get to January, February, he starts rising up the boards. He's one of those late guys you turn on the film, and then everyone starts turning on the film, and you really appreciate what he can do. He is one of the few top-end tackles who is a full-time left tackle. That's huge. Left tackle is the typical blindside blocker. If you have a righty quarterback, you have those Michael Penixes and Tuas who you need your right tackles for. But they're the typical blindside blocker, so they're the slightly more valuable tackle spot. He was a full-time starter there. He didn't have a ton of starts under his belt. There's a little bit of an inexperience issue. But you're going to see what you have on tape. May need to do some developing, may need to do some sitting as well. Kind of sit and learn. You don't want to throw him out there in the fire right away. But you're happy with this pick. Freeling's a good player. I had him just outside the first round at my 36th ranked player. You're not mad at that at all. I think Carolina addressed a need. Where he slides in with Ike Ekwonu is a little bit of a concern because Ekwonu was on the left side. Ekwonu did play on the right side sometimes. So you got to figure out where that is. But with the Eagles up now, they made that trade, and I had them as a tackle team. So the Eagles are now going to be missing out on one of the tackles who I thought they could potentially target moving up to 20.
Eagles at pick 20, coming up in just a second.
I think
Let's trade with Dallas.
I think if you're looking for somebody that's an outside shot, I think it could be Eli Stowers here.
Ooh, interesting.
So with the 20th pick, the Eagles take Mekhi Lemon from USC. Matthew's getting some flashbacks here. He brought it up earlier. The last time the Eagles and Dallas had a trade, the Eagles came away with Devontae Smith. Now they get Mekhi Lemon.
I just don't understand why you give them 2 Biletnikoff Award winners for literally no reason, but okay. And I honestly like sitting at 20 there as well. I thought we could maybe take Gerard McCoy at that 20 position. I would have been totally fine with that. But it's okay. Caleb Downs is going to be there to just knock the football out of him. So it doesn't matter too much. And Jalen Hurts throws a football like a wet duck. So I don't think it's going to be too big of an issue. But It's a good pick for the Eagles overall.
That was some interdivision trash talk right there. A wet duck. That's a new one.
I mean, he just can't throw the football. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm done pretending like he's good. Yes, he's a Super Bowl winning quarterback. Is he a superstar in the NFL? Absolutely not.
As you said, Super Bowl winning quarterback, unlike Dak Prescott. But anything.
Well, that is
Yeah, I
true.
don't think he's a top 10 quarterback.
Thank you. Okay,
If I'm
thank you. He
honest,
gets
so.
it.
And he's a good quarterback. He's not a top 10 quarterback. Lemon's a great weapon, though. Again, limited to the slot. So now you're limited to Devontae Smith
Yeah.
only on the outside.
Exactly.
So he did flex into the slot. And now it makes the A.J. Brown trade potential even more likely when you took wide receiver in the first round. So I think we see Brown gone later tonight, to be honest. I do think we see the Eagles on the phone for the rest of the night. Maybe even calling up every single team with a first-round pick left and be like, hey, you want A.J. Brown? Like, you have to throw that shot out there. New England has been the most talked-about team. Mike Vrabel, the head coach there, had him in Tennessee. There's a connection. Mike Vrabel has a lot of connections, but A.J. Brown is one of them.
All right, then. He, I guess, does have... Okay, I'm not commenting on that one anymore. As we go to pick number 21, this is a big one that's coming in soon. Pick number 21 belongs to the Pittsburgh Steelers, the hometown pick. Coming up, the Steelers, of course, last year, if I can pull up our notes that Chris Pagan graciously made for us.
Thank you, Chris.
Shout out Chris Pagan over there making all these graphics for us. 10-7 last year. Won the AFC North, lost in the wild card to Houston, and just a murder of sorts, losing 30-6. First time you're going to have Mike Tomlin not as the head coach of the Steelers team in a very, very long time. Mike McCarthy taking over as the head coach.
I think that's a good hire for the Steelers, honestly. He got too much hate in Dallas. I mean, he had 3 straight 12-5 seasons. I mean, there's nothing wrong with going 12-5. Now, winning in the playoffs, that's another conversation. It's not completely his fault. Defense allowed 28 points in the first quarter. He can't really do much about that.
So just a minute left on the clock for Pittsburgh. They're taking that clock down a while here. The hometown selection, 3 linemen in their last 3 first-round picks, 2 of them offensive, 1 of them defensive. You think just 5 years ago, Najee Harris was their first-round pick. That's worked out pretty well. But also in 2022, Kenny Pickett didn't quite work out like they'd wanted.
You know, I thought that was a fun pick at the time, but it definitely wasn't going to work out. But I was going to enjoy the chaos. I do think they go back to offensive tackle here. Actually, Broderick Jones suffered an injury that's going to keep him out for the start of the season. He also hasn't been any good when he's played. Troy Fautanu is a kick-in-the-guard candidate. He was a kick-in-the-guard candidate when they took him and played him at the tackle spot 2 years ago. I could definitely see them addressing offensive tackle here. Miller's off the board. Proctor's off the board. Freeling's off the board. That doesn't leave you with a ton of options if you're Pittsburgh. So if you still want to go tackle, you might need to look a little bit farther down the board. There's a guy, Caleb Lomu, though, who can play on that left side, who I really like for them as the pick here.
So we're waiting the Steelers at 21. Really funny to get Philly and Pittsburgh back-to-back here when the draft is in Pittsburgh. So you can hear that crowd going crazy up there in the Steel City. They're going to take their time doing this one. A lot of potential needs for the Steelers team, as you guys have talked about. Of course, next year the draft is going to be in Washington, D.C. When you see the team that will be hosting next year, and the Commanders.
It'll be an interesting venue.
I think they could make it really cool if they do it in the right spot.
I agree.
Where do you guys think?
It's been a long time since I've been to DC. But I know they have like cherry blossoms and whatnot, and so if you can have those in the background, that'd be cool. I think there's like a big old lawn in front of the Washington Monument, right? Which if they set that up, that could be kind of cool. Again, I don't know how like the space would work there. For Cleveland, they did it in the back alley behind the stadium on the river, so it could be pretty much anywhere. But there's some cool potential for DC to have a nice setup stage.
National Mall was the first place that came to my mind, of course, where you've got
Yeah.
everything there that can make it really cool as we're awaiting the pick to happen. They shut off all the lights in Pittsburgh. They're really making the most of this pick. It would be hysterical if they traded away after all of this. If they waited till the last second and traded this pick.
There's a possibility.
The pick's in, though,
There's
so
a
it's going to
possibility.
happen. But it would be even better if they did an NBA where the team still announces the pick after they've traded it.
Traded him. I was talking to one
Trade
of
the
my
draft rights.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
I hate that.
I was talking to my roommate about that today, actually. Donovan Mitchell, one that we were talking about, drafted by the Nuggets originally, then traded just 1 pick back to the Jazz. We're thinking, how good would the Nuggets be if they had Donovan Mitchell, Jamal Murray, Nikola Jokic? Be a pretty fun playoff team.
Who was Luka Doncic originally drafted by?
Trey Young.
That's what I
Yeah,
thought. It was the
we
Hawks.
originally
Chris is saying pick 3 for pick 5.
Yeah, it was the teams, Chris. It was Dallas and Atlanta. Yes.
yeah, I was we
Thank you
originally
for that, Chris. See, when I hear pick 3 and pick 5, I think horse racing. So, sorry about that.
How good would the Sixers be if they kept Mikal Bridges and didn't trade him to Phoenix?
I mean, how good?
Probably not very good, but I could wish,
Or you just don't trade Luka Doncic away to the Lakers, and you go to the finals and then lose. But it's okay. It's neither here or there.
So as the Steelers are taking their time on the 21st pick, we're going off the rails about as much. They've got an entire crew walking out here for this pick.
Oh, my.
I think it's a little over the top. Maybe too many people on the stage.
You think there's too many?
I mean, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 people, including the camera guy. I mean, there's not a lot of space. Just get on with the pick.
I really want a team to, wheel somebody out on a unicycle one year to announce the pick. I think that'd be so cool.
I didn't know where you were taking that.
A unicycle.
Anyway, 21st pick.
Where else would I take that, Aiden? Come on. Unicycle, bicycle, tricycle, double-decker bus. I mean, there's a lot of
Roller
options.
skates?
Skateboard. Roller skates.
You'll see those kind of antics, in the 5th round.
Heelys.
Heelys.
Heelys. Maybe even a hoverboard. It's got a wheel.
The pick has been in for 7 minutes. They're taking their time here. 21st. Here we go. Finally, 21st pick in the first round to Pittsburgh.
Okay.
There you go.
The tackle does go.
Justin, you want to tell me who that is?
Yeah, I'm gonna pass on the name. Let's look this up because Chris is dogging me for pronunciation here. Let's get the pronunciation.
I took the easy way out and I just handed it off to him,
Yeah, well, we're gonna get it right here. We're gonna get it right. Pronunciation. Here we go.
Steelers do go offensive tackles. They do address the O-line. And we move on to the 22nd pick to LA. Justin, you got this.
Ihanachor.
There you go.
There we go. I'm just gonna
Maxi
stick to Max,
Ihanachor.
though.
There you go.
Good size. He had a really good season this past year at Arizona State. Another right tackle. Again, there was a lot of right tackles, not a lot of left tackles in this year's class. It's a good fit for Philly, though, as they're looking for life beyond Lane Johnson after he retires. You're going to be able to learn Philadelphia is a lineman factory, right? This is Pittsburgh's pick. Why am I talking about Philadelphia? They needed a tackle. We zoned out here, right? Pittsburgh took so long that we forgot that we were in the wrong city, right state. Right state, wrong college. Shout out. But anyways, Pittsburgh, Broderick Jones was on the left side, and he hasn't been any good. Troy Fatanu was on the right side. They're going to kick him in the guard most likely. They're going to play Max on the right side. He's going to be able to start right away most likely. Pittsburgh needed a tackle. The problem is, who are you blocking for?
That's what I was literally just about to
who are
say.
you actually blocking for? Because you don't have anyone to throw the football. Will Howard? Is that who we're trusting the football to? Probably not.
Will Howard, had the keys to Ferrari at Ohio State and just had to check the ball down to, 3 potential first rounders. Not really a real playmaker in my eyes as a quarterback.
You want to comment on anything, Chris, here?
Oh, here he goes.
Here we go.
Check down. Dang.
Second time you've almost done that.
Check down? Really? I mean, we didn't see his deep balls.
Oh, yeah, you saw him, but he didn't he doesn't jump out to me as a quarterback. I just think he's fine. He's just the typical 6'6" quarterback that can just throw the ball.
Simplicity is key.
He's got nothing going for him.
Simplicity is key.
Would you have him as starter of the Browns if you could
Yes,
choose?
I would take Will Howard over the guy we traded for. Trigger.
You can say his name.
No, we can't.
Say his name.
We really can't say his
Who are
name.
you talking about? I'm kind of confused
Yeah,
here.
I don't know.
Look up the 2022 trade or
Deshaun
What's
Watson?
our quarterback room right now, Chris, in Cleveland?
garbage.
Well, there's 3 names. Can you name them?
No,
Not a
because
real
they're all
fan.
garbage. I don't think they deserve for their name to be said on here.
So anyway, 22nd pick now belongs to LA. You have a great note here. You want to read this one off? Recent
Oh,
picks?
yeah. Recent first-round picks for the Chargers. Amari Hampton, Joe Alt, Quentin Johnson, Zion Johnson, wow, back-to-back Johnsons. Rayshawn Slater, Kenneth Murray, and Justin Herbert.
It is Johnston for Quinn.
Sorry.
Yeah, you had it right the first time.
It's okay.
Two.
Trust your gut,
OBS
Chris.
is going to... Oh, that's not good.
Okay, so hopefully you can cancel that.
Yeah.
Can you
cancel
not?
it.
Well, this is a classic of that
OBS.
computer.
It's always when you hit this 2-hour mark.
Go to settings
Yeah, it
and
really
turn
is.
off auto updates. Is that a thing? I don't know how to do it, but I
Well-
just assume it's a thing.
So, well, I
What
guess
do you
we'll
think the
see in
Chargers do here?
3:30 what happens. It's going down by the
What,
the
Messidor?
second. So here comes LA.
Folk?
Oh, that's who I have.
Here's what they're going to do here.
Could be interior though. Basantas.
That's kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
You guys can talk loudly about this, by the way. Go ahead.
Well, I
say
don't know
what
if
you want.
OBS like just closed.
Oh, no, we're still going
okay,
on.
We're just
okay.
having a classic conversation. I think it's Keldrick Falk or Chase Basantas here. I think it's edge or interior, and those are the two names I'm really looking at.
22nd for the Chargers.
Oh, wow.
call.
I mentioned it.
There
All
you
right,
go.
let's go.
Messidor.
Akeem Messidor.
Messidor.
Little old for me.
It's very old.
Little old for me.
Yeah.
Look, a lot of people had this debate with Tyler Shuck last year. Are these guys that have been around in college for so long too old to succeed at a high level in the NFL? Some people say yes, some people say no. I lean more so on the side of I don't think it matters as much as people make it seem. If these guys can come in and produce at a high level right away, there's no harm in that. I mean, the Chargers, they lost Odafe Oweh, I almost said Otega Oweh. They lost Odafe Oweh to the Commanders for a 4-year, $100 million deal. Don't know if he was worthy of that. But look, Messidor is just going to go in there and be a very stereotypical edge rusher. He's going to fill the need that Jim Harbaugh needs on that perimeter side. So I'm interested to see what they do there. I think the Chargers have a good groundwork, especially their offense. Quentin Johnston learned how to catch a football. Rashawn Slater, Joe Alt, that's a good combo. And then Amarian Hampton, when he did play last year and was not nursing that injury, he played at a very high level. So the Chargers, I think, are in a good position. This pick is going to help them try to succeed in a AFC West that's going to be in a down year next year because of all those injuries.
So we're going to take a quick break here. We're going to return with the rest of the first half after our updates happen. We'll be back with more on Bearcast Media. We're back here in Cincinnati, the 2026 NFL Draft. First round here on Bearcast Media. Aiden Riggs, Matthew Lynn, Justin Diedrich. We apologize for those technical difficulties. We're battling through them. Shout out to our amazing production crew here behind the scenes. Chris Pagan, Drew Lambert, Hayden Ducker. We had Chet Bentley here earlier, along with Miles Essenprice. We had a full crew here delivering this first round. It's been exciting. We've had some big picks. We've had some trades as well, especially involving your two teams. On the clock, and the pick is in right now. It's Dallas Cowboys, 23rd pick. This is your second pick of the first round. What do you want to see?
I want Zion Young. I want the Missouri edge rusher. I mean, I think that he is just a brute force that can be really paired up well with Donovan Izaraku. So getting those two guys together with Quinton Williams up front, I think would be great. But we'll see what Jerry and Steven have cooked up.
Here you go, 23rd pick, first round 2026 draft, the Dallas Cowboys with the selection, and they take Malachi
Interesting.
Lawrence, edge rusher from UCF.
It's quite interesting.
I mean, I'm fine with it. Needed an edge rusher. Doesn't really matter how you put it. Glad we addressed the needs on the defense tonight. That was definitely the position of need was edge rusher and safety. I got my personal favorite player in the draft, Caleb Downs, and then I got Malachi Lawrence, who I don't know crazy too much about. I would have liked Young better, but I think getting.
104.
Whew,
Yeah, I wasn't super high on him.
I wasn't really either, but I do think that, getting him paired up with Donovan Izaraku is going to be nice. So I'll be excited to see what Malachi Lawrence can do. We have done a pretty good job as a history of drafting, defensive edge rushers. I think somebody getting tall and lengthy in there's going to be nice compared to just the power that the Cowboys mostly possess right now. So I'll be interested to see. And now your Browns about to be on the clock.
I'm manifesting Denzel Boston. Please, Denzel Boston. He's my wide receiver, too. He's the 13th player in the class for me. I want Denzel Boston. I want a big-bodied wide receiver to catch touchdowns because the Browns had, was it Chris, 4 touchdown catches from wide receivers last year? Because Harold Fannin and Njoku caught all of them. Can we please get a wide receiver to catch a touchdown?
Fanning caught half of them.
Yeah, Fannin did everything. Greatest player of all time, in my opinion.
You called that pick. Shout out.
I had a first-round grade on Harold Fannin. And
For a
I was
while,
called
too.
Yeah, I had a first-round grade on Fannin for a long time. I was called a madman by some people.
So this is the second pick of the first round for the Browns. They took Spencer Fano with their first one. That was pick number 9. This is pick number 24. The pick is in. This was acquired from Jacksonville, I believe, with that trade last year. That moved Jacksonville up to 2 to take Travis Hunter. You've got your guy that you want here. Matthew, your Cowboys went a little deeper in the talent pool, it seemed like, for that pick.
Yeah, they did, and I'm not really too angry about it. Look, as long as he's going to be able to produce, that's fine. The main thing we needed was a safety, and we got exactly that. I trust Christian Parker. He was a great coach in Philadelphia, and now taking that role on as a defensive coordinator, moving on, I think that's great. I think there's some other corners that you could get later down the line. I would still like to pick up a traditional coverage linebacker. At some point, that's why I think Jake Golday would be great for this draft. I think now with maybe getting those picks you got from Philly, I think that puts you in a position to get him. So I think that would be great. But, there were some rumors that we could have drafted a wide receiver earlier this morning because of what we were waiting on with George Pickens, and now signing his franchise tag, we're able to put those rumors to bed.
So the Browns on the clock, 24th pick in this first round, battled through some technical difficulties not that long ago. Justin, your mock drafts throughout the past couple of years have done pretty well. You didn't have the best year last year in your own words, but how you feeling right now?
We started off strong, 3 for 3. We got the half points for the Fano, Delane, Browns-Chiefs trade. Sonny Styles was the correct pick, as well as Vega Owane at 14. That was the last correct pick that I had, was Owane at 14. I do actually have Denzel Boston to the Browns here. They haven't moved out, and Boston's available, so there's an opportunity here. A lot of my guys in the back end of the first are still available to get a couple more points. Lawrence was in there, he's gone. Blake Miller was in there, he's gone, and Caleb Banks is gone. I have Denzel Boston, I have TJ Parker, Emmanuel McNeil, Warren, Colton Hood, Chris Johnson, Zion Young, all still on the board, all still available. I'm feeling pretty good with my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, total of 6, if we're counting the halves here. I feel pretty good about that. I would like to get maybe 1 or 2 more. I believe 2 years ago I had 9 or 10 when we did the show. Last year I think we hit 5. It was such an unpredictable year.
Would that be your ideal numbers around that 9-10 for people who aren't aware of what a good number for mock draft would
Genuinely,
be?
if you get 10 to 12 correct, you had an incredible first round mock.
Yeah.
Because we're so on the outs. Even the experts, I can go look at Daniel Jeremiah's last first round pick. He's my most trusted draft expert. He probably is in the 7 to 8 range right now. Even these guys who know so much and have so many connections within league circles do not have everything. They cannot predict what these teams are going to do. That's why the draft is so fun for me, because it's so insanely unpredictable, right? So to have this many, I'm feeling pretty happy about it. I'd like a little bit more. But yeah, if you're in that 10 spot on a mock draft, you feel very good about that.
So the pick has been in for the Browns for about 4 to 5 minutes now. We're in that point of the draft where we feel a lot of commercials do come up, kind of backload them here in the first round, everyone paying attention in those first 10 or so picks. A lot more time space between these picks than you'd imagine. Technically, the Bears are on the clock right now because of it at 25, since Cleveland's pick has been in for a while. This is part of that trade with Jacksonville's 24th pick, and they're showing it right now on TV. You look at that return they had. Mason Graham was 5th overall last year. Quinshon Judkins was a second-round pick last year. Dylan Sampson, the 4th round. And you'll see what they do here in this 24th position. Any last thoughts here before the pick's announced?
I really hope it's Denzel Boston. They have Chiefs.
Yeah, I was just noticing
out there. We didn't trade with them again. I hope not. I really hope it's Denzel Boston. But any wide receiver here is a definite possibility. Omar Cooper Jr. is in play too, but Boston would be my preference.
Diego Pavia.
Please no.
Wide receiver Casey Concepcion from Texas A&M goes to Cleveland at 24, and you can see Justin's reaction on the screen. Here you go.
We needed a wide receiver.
That's his only comment on that. So here comes Chris over here, strutting over. Chris.
No.
Not to me? Okay, you're going there.
Do we get a 10% drop rate? We can't catch the football. All right.
Number
Yeah.
56 on your big board, wide receiver 8.
I hope
That's
they
Casey
address the drop
Concepcion.
rate in this coverage, genuinely. He's not a bad player. Like, we needed a wide receiver desperately. He's going to stretch the field. They wanted to get a downfield threat for Shador Sanders, right?
Yep.
Or
Chris,
Deshaun
I know
Watson.
you're mocking my hand motions back here. I don't hate the prick. It addressed the need. He is a definite speedster. Get the ball in his hands and he can make plays. You can get him downfield, he can make plays. I desperately concerned with the drop rate, almost near 10% drop rate. You have to catch the football. We saw the Browns dropping footballs all year last year. Jerry Jeudy is a prime example of someone who cannot catch the football. They just drafted another one. So that's not exactly fun. But you have speed, you have some dynamic playmaking ability with the ball in his hands. You have a fluid route runner as well. You can't ignore that. He's a little bit undersized, under 6 foot. He's probably going to be in the slot or boundary if he's going to go deep, but for the most part in the slot. You're not mad at it. You needed a dynamic weapon. I just would have liked a little bit more of a bigger body red zone threat type receiver than a deep threat here that has some catch concerns.
So we move from Cleveland at 24 to Chicago at 25. Pick is in for the Bears. Matthew, what are you seeing here with the Chicago team that made the playoffs last year?
I think it's going to be Kendrick Falk. I think they clearly needed some help on the edge. They bring in Kobe Bryant from the Seattle winning team, and he's a pretty good safety. So they have some good secondary players. I just think they're missing some pass rushing ability. They have a great running back room, a solid tight end in Colston and Loveland, and a great wide receiver room as well. So I really don't think they're missing anything from the offensive side of the ball. The offensive line was pretty good. I just think they need to draft an edge rusher here. You don't overcomplicate this. You take Kendrick Falk and you move on.
Yeah, I'm kind of in agreement here. That's their biggest need. There's still good edge rushers available. So that's where I think you lean. You mentioned Kendrick Falk. Zion Young's still on the board. Outside shot for a Cassius Howell if they just want a pure pass rusher. I mean, Cassius Howell is another T-Rex armed guy, but he's also incredibly fast. And he did produce, as far as sack numbers go. Former Bowling Green Falcon as well. Shout out Maction. Transferred to Texas A&M a couple years back. So the outside shot for edge rusher Cassius Howell, but I do think it's an edge rusher for Chicago.
You look at Chicago, 11-6 last year, lost 20-17 to the Rams in the divisional. You think of Chicago, you think of some heartbreaks in the playoffs. At least I do, as of recent. I don't mean to bring up the double doink. I know that's a little bit tragic for them. Traded away DJ Moore to Buffalo for a second-round pick. They did sign safety Kobe Bryant. Shout out the Bearcats for that one, bringing him on a 3-year, $40 million contract. We got some needs, as we've said, on the defensive side. Chicago's in the NFC North. We haven't really mentioned it a lot so far tonight. That is a strong division when it comes to the NFC. All those teams really competing, it seemed like, at some point last year. When you guys look at that division, what do you see big picture?
I'm interested to see what the Vikings do next year. I really am. I mean, I was kind of surprised that they had this bad of a down year. Obviously, J.J. McCarthy didn't turn out how they expected him to. I'm interested to see what Justin has to say about J.J. McCarthy. But it'll be interesting to see what they do with Kyler Murray. I'm assuming they're signing him on the 1-year prove-it deal. See what he can do. But Kevin O'Connell has never worked with a quarterback like Kyler Murray before. So I'm excited to see what he can do. He's got great pass catchers around him, a solid tight end in T.J. Hawkinson. But I think the Vikings have a chance at being good next year. The Lions, they struggled last year, especially losing Ben Johnson, so they're kind of looking to rebound as well. So those two teams, obviously, the Vikings lose Sam Darnold, they struggle. The Lions lose Ben Johnson, they struggle. You have the Bears that really succeeded in that division, which I didn't expect at the start of the season. So I think that right now I'd probably say is the best division in all of football. So I think that has the foothold to be a strong point for a long time. The Bears, if they grab an edge rusher here, I think they further solidify their chances of chasing a Super Bowl. You have the quarterback, you have the offense. Now you just need to boost up the defense. I trust Ben Johnson as a coach. I think he knows what he wants. I think he's not going to overcomplicate this.
So when you look at right now what's going on after the Chicago pick, we do have a trade that just happened. Houston trades up to 26, taking Buffalo's spot. We're going to see what the return is for that 26 overall pick. Chicago's pick is in, so Houston is technically on the clock. Houston, another one of those teams that picked up a playoff win last year, moving up here in the first round, trying to find someone. What you guys thinking there?
I think I have a pretty good idea of why they wanted to jump San Francisco. San Francisco did figure out the contract situation with Trent Williams, who is a left tackle, who is 38 years old and doesn't have much time. There is a left tackle in Caleb Lomu, who is still on the board. He's about the last first-round worthy tackle still on the board. You jump San Fran as a tackle-needy team. You're a tackle-needy team. That makes sense to me. I think if Lomu makes it past Chicago, which is very likely, then I think Lomu is exactly who they were moving up for to jump San Fran.
And that's really interesting when you look at how many linemen have truly gone so far today. That is a high number for only 26 picks in. That's going to be around 9 to 10 linemen already going in this first round. Had a real run on that. It looks like the terms coming in from our guy Chris Pagan right here. Houston gets 26 and 91. Buffalo gets 28, 69, and 167. I, for a second there, didn't believe you with those last two numbers, but I guess we're going to have to. Anyway, Chicago, 25th pick coming up here. First round, 2026 NFL Draft. Aiden Riggs, Matthew Lynn, Justin Diedrich here. Chris, Drew, and Hayden behind the scenes keeping us sane here as we get towards the end of the first round. Roger Goodell at the podium. Here comes the Bears pick.
Huh, interesting.
Dylan Thieneman, the safety from Oregon, going Chicago.
He's a fun player.
Yeah, Thieneman was definitely the number 2 safety I had on my board. I mean, Caleb Downs number 1, Thieneman number 2. I thought the Cowboys would take Thieneman if Downs went to the Giants at 10. But I think the Bears are getting a pretty good player. He was very impressive at Oregon. Had a lot of great plays. I think he's going to succeed well in Chicago. I think this is also another instance of you seeing Ben Johnson, kind of what he did last year. Obviously, when they drafted Colston Loveland, that was probably not who everybody thought they were going to take at the tight end position. But no, they move a little bit direction. I thought they had a pretty solid secondary last year, but they're just looking to add more to that. And that's exactly what they're going to get out of Dylan Thieneman.
Yeah, I mean, he is my safety 4, but he's not by any means a bad player. I just really like Emmanuel McNeil-Warren and Traden Stukes, who are also incredible safeties. And I think we may see Emmanuel McNeil-Warren be taken still in the first round. But he's a good player. He's rangy. He is your center field type coverage safety, and you're not going to see him in the box too much, a little bit similar to what Caleb Downs was going to do. But he's instinctive. He's very instinctive. You know, he's played the position. He's an incredible player, transferred over from Purdue. He was a superstar at Purdue and a very good player at Oregon. It's a good pick for Chicago. Is it necessarily a huge need? That is a question. But at this point, you draft best player available for a competitive team, and you can figure out a place to use him on the defense. You're not mad at that pick at all.
So we move to pick number 26, which belongs to Houston. Another trade here in the first round. I believe this is our 3rd, potentially 4th. Chris, you got a number on that one? 3rd?
Browns, Cowboys, this.
Sounds correct. We're going to go 3rd.
No, Browns, Cowboys, Eagles.
Eagles.
Eagles as well. Matt keeping us honest here. So 4th trade of this first round. Chris, 5.
5. Who else?
Which one did we forget? Dolphins.
Oh, yeah,
have
they
just traded
Oh.
with the 49ers.
They got jumped for their tackle and just immediately decided to trade down.
So there you go. It's been a trade heavy first
Actually,
round.
that is something interesting. Is Miami or San Francisco would already know who Houston's pick is because the card would be run up and they alert the teams next. So even though the pick doesn't say in right now, Miami and San Fran both knew who it's going to be, which definitely makes me think this is the tackle that San Francisco wanted, and they said, screw it, we'll just accept some picks and move down a little bit with Miami.
So Chris is live giving us these trade terms. Miami gets 27, not the 39ers, but the 49ers get 30 and 90. So thank you for that one, Chris.
That's actually good value to move down 3 spots and pick up a 3rd round pick in 90 right there. This is, again, a deep class. 90 is valuable in this specific year.
Big Ten with 9 players drafted tonight.
Shout out Mason Settlemeyer.
And Chris is working on an SEC number just because it means more. Thank you for that one.
What about a MAC number, Chris?
Well, everybody knows it's all about the ACC, accomplished greatness. Nobody cares about the Big Ten.
I mean, arguably, the MAC is the most interesting conference in football.
Are you talking because of Sacramento State?
A lot of factors, man. Central Michigan, Sacramento State, Bowling Green, the Glass Bowl. I mean,
The Glass Bowl's electric.
yeah, the Glass Bowl, sick place. Like, there's a lot of fun going on in the MAC. No longer have to deal with Northern Illinois. Like, that's a plus.
Official numbers, 6 players from the SEC, 9 from the Big Ten so far, as we sit on pick number 26.
Is it 5 Ohio State players? Or 4? 4?
For Tate, Styles,
3 defensive.
Reese, and
Downs.
Downs.
So here comes the pick from Houston,
Tackle.
number 26. You strong belief this is going to be a tackle, both of you?
I think they might take Cade McDonald here. I think they need a run-stopping defensive tackle, and they got Will Anderson. I think they're in a good position there.
5 players from the Big 12 as well. Shout out the Bearcats. Keelan Rutledge, the guard from Georgia Tech, goes to Houston at 26 off that trade that moved them up and jumped San Francisco.
Well, it was offensive line, but not exactly the position I think they needed the most. Rutledge is a good player, though. There were a lot of talks about him in the first round in the past few days. I didn't fully believe them, to be honest, but he's been a big riser. The thing about Rutledge is he is that run game blocker. You know, he's a fine pass blocker, and they're showing some pass block reps from him. But especially Georgia Tech with their run-heavy offense and their option offense too with Haynes King, they ran the ball a lot, and that's where Rutledge really excels. And Houston, they have leaned more heavily on the pass in previous years. I think they maybe want to try to establish the offensive line and establish the run game a little bit more, and Keelan Rutledge would help do that. Do I think this is a slight bit of a reach? Yes, but it addresses a need, and the back end of the first round, you can maybe go a little bit more need than BPA at this spot.
One more note on that Bears pick for Dylan Thieneman. First time the Bears have used a first-round pick on a defensive player since 2018. Roquan Smith, that trade where Miami takes San Francisco's spot at 27 has gone official. Pick is in, and we're going to take our time as the clock's still showing that's going down. Well, wait a second. And Chris, I believe you might have something for us to watch here during this quick break, maybe in a second. We're going to take our time here before we get this going. So Miami taking this pick. We talked about them earlier being an interesting subject. Of course, they took Caden Proctor. Now, Chris, are we good? Looks like we are good. Chris, go ahead and run what you want to run.
So, So Bo Nix goes to Denver.
Here we go. Is there? Back. All right, we're back. So, of course, we just had our reaction from that Bo Nix take a couple years ago. Justin, not too happy, along with Chase. You saw him reach up for the ball there in disbelief, and then right after that was when the Cheez-Its came out, if you do remember that. And
Do we have the Cheez-It?
yeah, do we have the? We might need the
We
clip
do
of the
not have the-
Cheez-It
I
going
sent you
past
the clip
my
of the
head.
Cheez-It.
But anyway, Bo Nix was probably one of the most memorable parts of that draft 2 years ago. Justin, when you think back on that moment, what goes through your head?
Why? like, why would Denver do that to themselves? I mean, I guess they've made the playoffs and they've been a fine team since. I didn't really believe in Bo Nix. I still don't believe in Bo Nix, if I'm being 100% honest. That was 100% at the time. I thought a reach of necessity because they desperately needed a quarterback. You didn't want Jarrett Stidham throwing the football. I don't even, did they even have Jarrett Stidham at
They
that
did.
point? Yeah.
It was
You
the
definitely
first,
didn't want him throwing the football.
You know, going back to the AFC Championship, Sean Payton saying the first free agent signing he made with the Broncos was Jarrett Stidham. He was that excited about it. So, you know, maybe there's a world where they don't reach and they do have Jarrett Stidham starting.
Jarrett Stidham starting. That's not thrilling. But Bo Nix isn't really thrilling either, so that just caught me so off guard at the time.
A question I want to pose to you as we're still waiting this Dolphins pick at 27
Fire
in
away.
the first round. You talk about waiting to see truly what is from Bo Nix. How long do you give a prospect when they get to the league before you know truly whether or not they were worth the pick or not?
Quarterback specifically, I give a 3-year minimum. Especially if you're an early pick, I give a 3-year minimum. Because it takes time for the quarterback position to really develop. That 3 years also applies to corners, because I think that is the second hardest position to assimilate, and offensive tackles. Everyone else at this point, I used to give 3 to pretty much everyone. I almost go 2 now, because there are just times, especially in today's day and age, where you need to instantly produce if you're a wide receiver. Instantly produce if you're a safety, if you're an edge rusher. Edge rusher, I can almost extend 3 to certain players, certain project players. But it's almost expected for you to, produce year 1.
Yeah.
If not, definitely year 2. So 3 is almost a little bit of a grace period because you're approaching the end of your rookie deal and you have to decide if you're going to pick up that first year, or that first round 5th year option, or if you're going to be an extended player if you're not a first round pick. So there is a little bit of a grace, but 3 years for quarterback is my minimum. Certain players I still have belief in that are well past that 3-year mark that I'll never get to see those come to fruition. But
So the pick's in for the Dolphins. Looks like we're about to get it as Roger Goodell works out towards the podium. I love asking you questions about your process just so that people watching at home know truly what all goes into it. I think it's a
lot of
great
thought.
story. It
And,
is a lot of thought.
A lot of thought and,
A lot of
and
time and effort.
evaluation. Especially even after they get to the league, you still are evaluating these
There you
guys.
27th pick. Here it comes from the Dolphins. So Chris Johnson from San Diego State goes.
Can I get half a point because I had Chris Johnson to Miami at pick 30?
We'll give you a half a
And
point.
we get another half. There we go.
That makes a full point.
We're pretty generous here.
No, I have 3 half points, so I'm at 6.5 now.
Oh.
Chris Johnson's a fun player though. I definitely saw him as a first round prospect, or a first round pick. I didn't have him ranked as a first round prospect, but he's a really fun player. Super athletic, super fast, speedy, rangy. He doesn't get beat on the outside very often. He will get beat on the inside, but he's a physical player. He's a rangy player. There's always those questions of concerns with those group of 5 teams and the level of competition. I never really take those into account too much. NFL teams tend to not either. Fans will, but that's another day for another story for another day. Chris Johnson's an instinctive player though. He's a really good player. I like him to Miami. They desperately needed a corner. Are there better corners on the board here in my opinion? Yes, I still have Keith Abney. Jermod McCoy is still on the board. I still have Avion Terrell above him. Brandon Cisse above him. So there's quite a few that I have ahead of him. But it's definitely not a bad pick for Miami.
We have another trade within a division, actually, as the Patriots trade up to take the Bills spot. So New England's going to acquire the 28th pick. That means they're on the clock, and the pick is in for 31 and 125. So New England sees something on the board here they want and move up 3 spots.
Somebody here, I'm not exactly sure because New England can be all over the place, to be honest, with their draft process. I had them targeting Zion Young at 31. Zion Young is still available, so I had them going edge rusher. There is still, a couple good ones. Keldrick Falk, Zion Young, Cassius Howell would be the top guys for me. The Patriots do tend to take BPA a lot, and with Christian Gonzalez entering the last year of his deal, his rookie deal, they have to decide on the 5th-year option for him, as well as Carlton Davis entering the last year of his deal, and he also is expensive. This could be a corner spot. You just saw one go. They might want to secure their guy while they can. Jermod McCoy, Colton Hood could be here.
Third team to own this 28th pick, originally with Houston, then Buffalo, now New England. And they're going to take Caleb Lomo from Utah, the tackle. That's a reaction from Justin.
Will Campbell comes off the left side.
Yeah.
So you have to kick one of the two to the right. Which one do you
I'm
feel more
kicking Will
comfortable?
Campbell to
You're
the
kicking
right.
Will Campbell to the right?
Well,
That's just a curious idea. I don't hate that. I like the player, obviously. But the fit is a little interesting, especially in a class dominated by right tackles. They somehow end up with one of the few left tackles.
I think that might have been something they discussed with Will Campbell after the Super Bowl. I mean, he did not have his best Super Bowl performance, I think a lot of people would have said. But I still overall am a believer in Will Campbell. I think he was the 4th overall pick for a reason. I just think he needs to find his right spot. But if you go back to the Patriots, the ultimate downfall to their season
What is he doing?
was them not being able to protect Drake May. So I think Lomu is going to allow them to protect Drake May and move on.
Do you guys love Drake May?
Drake May lover.
Shout out Drake May lover.
Chris, let me know when we're good to go with everything that you're cooking up over there. The Chiefs are on the clock. This pick originally belonged to the Rams. 29th in the first round. As we got a lot going on here that they're cooking up over there on our sidelines. Picks in for the Chiefs. We're used to the Chiefs picking late in the first round like this. We'll see whenever this goes up on the stream. They're giggling their hearts out over there. And we've reached that point of the first round. Or we're in the last, 4 picks of the first round. The Kansas City on the clock. We're going to go to commercial again on TV. Mansour Delane went with the 6th pick earlier to Kansas City. They went DB there. What are you seeing here, both of you guys? Matthew, you seen anything with Kansas City here?
I don't really know what direction they want to go. I think maybe they draft corner here. Gerard McCoy's still on the board. Somebody that I thought would probably be gone by now. It's who I wanted Dallas to take at 20. Obviously traded back. But I think that this is a real possibility. Or Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, I think, is another guy that could go. They need some secondary help. I think those two guys could go. Avion Terrell, another corner. I'm not crazy high on personally. But I think McCoy or McNeil-Warren, I think, are the two guys to look out here for the Chiefs.
I think McCoy, McNeil-Warren, and Colton Hood. I'm going to throw in Colton Hood. I had them double-dipping at corner in my final mock draft anyways. They traded up to get Delane. I had them going Colton Hood. So I'm just going to throw it out there as a possibility here. But I do think it should be double-dip at DB, especially with how weak that group is. That's what I would go for. So we'll see. McCoy, this slide is interesting to me. Right, because you turn on his 2024 tape and you see CB1, but you just haven't seen him since 2024. So you're concerned about that. And apparently these medical red flags and the ACL injury is really turning teams off.
You know, me personally, there's one team I'd love to see trade back up, and that is the Arizona Cardinals. If you guys could get that going after our last draft show, I spent the entire time drawing everyone's logos. The only team that acknowledged me when I put all of those logos out there was the Arizona Cardinals. They quote tweeted me, put me out there, made it kind of go a little viral. I had a lot of people saying, I need to stop looking at the logos while I'm drawing them. I don't care. I'm going to draw them however I want. You can see my artwork there on the screen. Is it right here for me? Right here on this way? I thought I did pretty well with it. Wasn't my best work by any means. I had a couple other ones that did a little better. But still, the Cardinals, big shout out to them for, getting me on their socials there. I really appreciate it. You got a Cardinals fan for life out of me. You're another former quarterback. How about Desmond Ritter? Former St. X Tiger along with former Cincinnati Bearcat. Big fan of his. And, who knows? Maybe the Cardinals at some point could turn things around. They had that pick earlier tonight. Still, who knows?
You were sandwiched in between draft pick announcement tweets.
I was.
Like, that's the funniest thing is if you're scrolling through Cardinals Twitter that night to see, oh, look who we took in the first round. Oh, there's this random guy who drew a logo. Oh, look who we took in the second round. Like, it's just such a funny sequence to me.
Now, we do have a trade that did just happen for the next pick. San Francisco can't make up their mind on what they want to do, apparently, as the Jets move up and get the 30th pick. So they'll pick after the Chiefs here at 29, and dropping back to 33 will be San Francisco. So they drop out of the first round.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of 49ers fans are going to be extremely thrilled with that. I can't forget. I had so many trades. I can't remember what they were originally at. But leaving 27 to just 33, I don't really understand.
This will be the third first-round pick tonight for the Jets as well. They took David Bailey with their first one, Kenyon Sadiq with their second. So they got offense and defense. They'll have another chance to pick someone else up here after the Chiefs make their selection. You guys want to have one last thought on what you think the Chiefs could go here?
I do think it's double dip at DB, and I think McCoy, McNeil, Warren, Golden Hood all make sense.
Anything, Matthew?
Same thing. I'm going to stick with what I started with.
There you go.
Outside shot at trading Stukes because he can do both boundary corner and safety, and they might just want to get 2-1.
Heard it here first. Chris, I hope what you just wrote is true. I know it's not, but
And Mahomes is injured.
Mahomes is injured.
Then need a guy.
Could the Jets be trading up for Diego Pavia?
He is on the board.
He is on the board.
Diego
Outside shot
Pavia
at Carson
is on the
Wentz.
board. Also on the board.
Taylor Green?
Here comes the Chiefs at 29.
Ah, interesting.
Okay.
So they go defensive tackle from Clemson. So they go back to defense. You guys' thoughts?
I think it's a good pick. I mean, don't overcomplicate it. And it makes sense. I mean, Chris Jones is getting older. I think entering his 11th season now. So you draft the young kid out of Clemson. You let him see behind, and play next to Chris Jones, who's been one of the best defensive tackles in the league for a long time. I think it's a good fit. I think Andy Reid, for how many more years he's going to be in Kansas City, knows what he's doing.
Anything to add on?
I do think it's an all right pick. Woods was one of those guys who, again, in the preseason would have been top 10 projected pick in almost every mock. He had a little bit of a down year, but so did Clemson. Had a little bit of a down year. He's a good player. This was a down year on film for him, but he's still an impactful guy up the middle. He has pass rush ability in the interior, which, again, we talked about earlier with Caleb Banks, is highly valued. So you're not going to be mad at this if you're Kansas City. They always build through the trenches. That's what the Chiefs do. So they're just addressing that spot, and they address two big needs. I think they come away with a good first round.
Second Clemson pick tonight, joining Blake Miller in the first round. Official trade details on that Jets-Niners trade. New York's going to get 33, or sends 33 and 179 to San Francisco for number 30. This is the third first-round pick of the night for the Jets. What are you guys seeing here? Is there any surprise that could come?
It's the Jets, so that's always a possibility.
I think they
I
take.
do think.
Sorry, I think it's Denzel Boston.
You think Denzel Boston? I would not be surprised, and I also would be very upset that he goes before the Browns in the second.
And what's up with New York teams having many first-round picks? As Chris just reminded us, the Brooklyn Nets had 5 first-rounders last year and missed on every one of them. So thank you for that one, Chris. The Jets pick is already in, so we'll wait to see which way they go.
Shout out my fellow former intern Adam Ward, who is a Brooklyn Nets fan, and I was getting some obscene texts that night after every single draft pick.
Since when did you have an intern?
No, we were fellow. I said fellow intern, Hayden. I don't have interns. I can't pay one, let alone actually function half the time. So.
Well, anyway, Jets fans are typically Mets fans. Just snapped a 12-game losing streak. Kurt, you know what happened because of that losing streak? What caused it? the mayor of New York hugged Mrs. Met, and they lost 11 straight games, and he came out and apologized for it. And after he
After the
apologized,
apology.
they won. They broke the curse of the great Zoran Bini, you know? So it happened, and the curse is gone. Maybe the Mets can build their way back up. He is an Arsenal fan. Yes, he is. But here we go. Jets pick at number 30, third first-round pick of the night. Omar Cooper Jr., wide receiver from Indiana. A wide receiver goes to the Jets.
Can I petition for like a half or a third of point?
No.
Because I had Omar Cooper to the Jets, but I had it at 16. So I got team and player. Just
We're saying no from behind
What
the
about a
camera.
third? What about a
I think I'm
third?
going to cut that one off, too.
0.25.
So you like that pick? I'm going to take from that?
Oh, I do like that pick. I mean, I had it to him at 16 because they were heavily connected to him in the pre-draft process. Omar Cooper's a really good wide receiver. He's a deep downfield threat. He's going to go on that boundary. And they have him in the slot here. He's going to play on the boundary on the other side of Garrett Wilson. He is a high rising guy. They showed the catch against Penn State. But that's what he does. You know, he gets downfield. He makes those contested catches. He gets open. He's a fluid route runner. I genuinely think this is a really good pick. I mean, no matter who's going to throw the football in New York, you're building, a nice little core of pass catchers with Sadiq and Omar Cooper tonight. I like their draft. I think they've, unlike the Brooklyn Nets, maybe have hit on these 3 picks.
My bigger question is, well, who's going to throw the football now? And you look at the quarterback class, the rest of the way down, it's not that impressive. So I don't know if you're going to try to just ride it out with Geno Smith or if you're going to maybe throw Brady Cook in there, who played a couple games. I really don't know. Some other quarterbacks on the board, you have, Carson Beck, Taylor Green, Diego Pavia. I mean, just a couple guys to name a few. Garrett Nussmeier. So overall, a pretty weak quarterback class the rest of the way down. I just don't think there's really anybody to use there. But David Bailey, Kenyon Sadiq, and Omar Cooper, I mean, it's a pretty solid pick.
So the Jets have 3 first-round picks next year as well. So they're just going to keep adding on to this young talent they have. 5th wide receiver drafted tonight, Tate, Tyson, Lemon, Concepcion, and now Cooper, who, as we said, goes to the Jets. And we have another trade. Tennessee takes over for Buffalo at 31. Titans trade back into the first round. What are you guys thinking here with the Titans?
This is interesting because there's still some wide receivers on the board if they wanted to go ahead and double dip, give Cam Ward another weapon here. But I had them as a potential edge rusher team back at pick number 4, and they passed. Well, there are still some good edge rushers on the board. Keldrick Falk, Zion Young. If you want an everything type of guy, Emmanuel McNeil Warren, I still think would be an incredible pick for one of these teams here in the bottom of the first. I would love to see Tennessee do something on the defensive side of the ball, though. I really would.
I do want to address one elephant in the room on your big board, and that is Jermon McCoy. Can you talk about that a little bit and what you think's happening?
The injury concerns really, really must have turned teams off. Again, we did not see him play in 2025, but his 2024 tape was so incredible. But again, it was just so long. He didn't do much athletic testing in the pre-draft process. He was practicing. He did participate in the Tennessee Pro Day, but we didn't see a lot of him, which is really going to turn teams off. I mean, that is a problem. That is a genuine, real problem. In these medical testings, some of the teams get back certain physicals that are say, okay, we just can't take this guy, which definitely is the case here. Someone's going to get Jermon McCoy in the second round, potentially, or the last 2.
It's reminding me of Will Johnson last year.
Be very happy about it. 'Cause
Yeah.
Will Johnson as well with those injury concerns fell and then was incredible.
Yeah, he played really well last year once he was healthy. And, honestly, the Titans, they need literally like any position that is the best available. Trying to rebuild with that new staff, Brian Dable, Robert Salah, I think that's a good place to be for them. Cam Ward, I think, is very lucky to have not only Wan'Dale Robinson, now Carnell Tate, and then Jameer DK as that wide receiver 3. I think it's a pretty good young receiving core. I mean, Wan'Dale Robinson didn't really break out until last year. He's just been kind of lingering on the Giants. So I'm excited to see what they can do in Tennessee. But I agree with you. I think this needs to be a defensive pick. I still think that the running backs for the Titans are not worthy enough to take somebody here. Price from Notre Dame, I think, is somebody that maybe could go.
Here comes 31 to Tennessee, their second first-rounder of the night. So Pittsburgh set a record.
Oh, interesting.
300,000
Wow.
Detroit had 700,000. What are you guys talking about?
on one night.
On day one?
Probably. I don't know.
Probably.
I'm
Great-
confused
great
on how
analysis.
that many people fits into one area.
Yeah.
I like it.
So Falk, the edge from Auburn, goes to Tennessee.
I like that pick. Keldrick Folk is a good player. I had him as my 16th ranked player on the board. The thing with Keldrick Folk is he's similar to Caden Proctor in the way of you have an athletic skeleton. You know, an incredibly, the measurements are great. He's tall. I think he's around 6'5". Super fast, super rangy, super lengthy with the arm length as well. He's an athlete. He's an all-around athlete. The problem is he can't rush the passer. He's a great run defender, but he just can't rush the passer yet. So you're going to need to coach him up, teach him, maybe sit for a little bit, maybe come down in those first down scenarios. Maybe not on third and long to rush the passer just yet. But you do get a nice project player, and I like that at the back end of the first for Tennessee.
So we're at our last pick of the first round draft. Number 32 belongs to the Super Bowl champion Seattle Seahawks. This draft has gone faster than the one that we had 2 years ago here. You know, there was a lot going on 2 years ago when we were sitting here at this table. We had Chris on the panel with us along
Chris,
with
Chick-fil-A or
JC
Cane's?
Onsu,
Which one
who's
do you
now
like?
an UNC and now is too old for us and has graduated. Took him an extra semester, but he did it.
He owns a cat.
But
that's how you know he's old.
Okay then. But the thing is that we got in a state towards the end of the first round. It really started to take a toll on us. And, you know, someone had luckily brought a box of Cheez-Its. And the Cheez-Its turned into projectiles. So if you guys are ready, can we play that one? Do we need to hold on a minute?
Player Canes. Which one do you like better?
Well, well,
That left a lasting impact on me when the Cheez-It, right here, it was right here, went right over me. Can you get on this cam, Hayden? Or are we on that one? Now we are. It went right here. You can see the spot, and you see my reaction there again where I had the full head turn because I was so surprised from it. Cheez-Its became projectiles. Look at that hair on me as well when you watch that replay. Wow. That was, wow. All right,
Go
then.
back to that haircut?
Yeah, can you guys run that one more time? That like quick, like little one of me, and I just want to, that hair, wow.
Chris.
A lot going on there. But anyway, we've reached the 32nd pick here, which does belong to the Super Bowl champion Seattle Seahawks. Are we good? We back?
You're on.
We're on? Okay, just making sure, you know. But guys, this is our last pick. We've had a fun night here. It's been entertaining. A lot happening in this draft. Been very exciting. Hayden, Drew, Chris, thank you all so much for sticking around here with us and helping us with this entire production. This has been a great production we've put on here using all of our equipment here at Bearcast. We're very thankful for you all. This is also for you all. We need you guys to get on camera at one last time here towards the end. You know, well, come on. You guys got to come on here. Everything will be fine. It'll be fine.
I'm scared.
It'll
of
be fine.
cameras.
Here's
Street
Chris.
crashes as soon as they leave.
Chris, okay, there you go.
I'm scared of cameras, guys. Sorry.
One last moment. We need everyone on camera here
Gotta be on.
to thank us.
We have a game tomorrow.
Yeah, you guys
way.
got a
Game
game.
tomorrow,
ESPN
Yeah.
Plus, tune in.
There you go. Hear them on the call. You know,
really
I know
good
you've done a
replay.
ton of prep for that one, Justin. You
Oh,
know,
Justin,
I know that you
Arizona
have.
State's second
But
best player.
since we have everyone here, I do want to thank these two.
You don't
These
even
two
know
at
what
the
team
end
we're
of their
playing.
Bearcast career. I don't know what they're talking about.
I don't
over there.
know.
These two at the end of their Bearcast career, 4 years spent doing everything here. Both of them serving as production manager at one point.
yep.
Look at you guys. They're operations rather than the actual title. You guys got any words to say into the microphone for the people out there?
listen, I'm not really a sports guy.
Hell no.
I'm just kind of here for the vibes. And I'll tell you what, it has been a vibe. This is getting me into sports slowly more and more every day.
Sports has good vibes.
Sports has good vibes.
Thank you all. You know, we've had a fun time. We thank you all for everything you've done. It's been a fun night.
I have a note.
You have a note?
I can't wait to look back at my hair in like 3 years and go, what was I thinking?
Like me?
Yeah, exactly.
It's only 2 years.
I
but
know,
still,
that's the problem.
that's even worse.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
hey, guys, look, the pick is in for Seattle. So we await the final pick here. You guys got any other like elements or anything you want to throw in there? Are we all good? We
We
used everything?
We used it
Perfect.
all.
Did everyone that you made get picked?
There was one that we missed on. I forget.
You whiffed?
No.
Was the Georgia
This
Tech
wasn't a
offensive
good
guard?
time to-
No, it was one of the
McCoy
pre-made
Still
elements.
hasn't. You made one from McCoy.
Or
didn't you?
McCoy, yeah.
Yeah.
And then there was someone else that we didn't get to in time.
Here it comes.
I think this is McNeil Warren.
I think this is Zion Young.
Any guesses?
I think this is LeBron
I could
James.
not name a single NFL
I think
player.
this is
LeBron.
D'Angelo Pons.
LeBron James. Yeah, that's fine.
LeBron
So
James.
this
My
could
guess
be
is D'Angelo Pons.
if this is
D'Angelo
LeBron.
Russell.
Oh yeah, maybe.
D'Lo, hey!
Ew.
Former Dallas
Who else
Maverick.
is in college that I would
Big
know?
D'Lo guy, Central High School.
What about Mendoza? His brother. His brother.
Oh, yeah,
Alberto.
no, I think
he
it's
didn't
Mendoza's
declare,
brother.
unfortunately. You know, yeah.
Why not?
Is this the guy that they picked?
Who is
No,
this?
I don't think so.
Is this guy?
I would really hope not.
Is that Stephen Kwan?
Roger just brought him out for the last pick. Didn't even try.
Get a jersey on him.
No jersey, no nothing. They just brought him out before they announced him. They're
Get
like,
a
yeah.
jersey.
And
Hey.
the Seahawks picked that guy.
Good news. OBS didn't update.
Yeah.
I don't know what that was about.
OBS didn't update.
So we're not gonna have an overlay for this pick because we don't care no more.
I can't go.
Well, yeah,
That's
we're,
what I'm
we're,
saying.
We're
here.
kind of standing here.
We're actually
Interesting.
here.
I didn't know that.
So, hard to
Oh,
make
so you're
an
cheating
overlay.
on your phone? Okay.
No.
No, it's good. Pick's on. Come on.
You've been cheating this entire broadcast, bro.
I'm the producer.
So
I
that's what we have to do to make a good production, okay?
yeah.
He's using his sources, you know.
Yeah, they directly call me. You know what I'm saying?
Sources.
Directly call you.
So funny.
I
You were
will
on the phone
say-
outside the door earlier. Remember that?
My grandma called me.
It's a source, man. You gotta be.
She did not have any sources.
She have
about the
inside
draft,
info?
let me tell you.
I appreciate that Josh Downs was at Caleb Downs' booth for that pick.
You gotta support the family.
You got two brothers in the NFL now on different.
All right, bring the mic
Opposite
back, buddy.
teams.
Come on. Let's-
Dude,
Alright.
you're
peeking.
peeking.
I
You're
know
peeking,
the
bro.
A1 is stressing right now.
Oh yeah.
You brought that mic way down, and then Roger's gonna come back and he's gonna have to bring it way back up again. Oh my goodness! For those of you who are curious, we have been watching the ESPN broadcast up to this point. Shout out ESPN Plus.
Big logo in the back.
We're not a big NFL Network guy, right?
Yeah,
Too much propaganda.
too much propaganda.
Who?
Jadarian
Oh,
Price.
wow.
That's what I
Notre
said.
Dame.
Darian Price. He did say
That's
that.
what I said.
Hey, two running backs.
Second running back out of Notre Dame.
I don't know.
Not see a second running back.
I don't know why I didn't think about it though.
Yeah.
I didn't see
yeah,
Price
no
either.
Is that your
Yeah.
replacement
Is
for
Love's
Kenneth Walker?
backup
It
like
has to
that
be,
good
yeah.
that he's still a first round?
He was really good.
Yeah,
He was really good.
Okay.
Really good. I had him as running back. I want to say 3 or 4.
And we saw this last year too at Ohio State. Travion and Quinshawn, but they
Yeah.
were in the second round like 34 and 36.
What I have Jadarian Price at, and he was running back 4. I can't find him.
I don't see him on here right now. Am I blind? Don't answer that.
Maybe. Oh no, he was not. He was farther down. I had Jaden Ott as running back 4.
Does that mean that like Notre Dame had a very similar
lost him.
backfield to the Lions with Jameer Gibbs and
Yes.
David Montgomery? I mean, it's obviously it's college and pro, so there's different skill levels there. But was it like a similar play style
I'd say
that
so.
Notre Dame had with Love and this guy?
I'd say so.
This guy's a name.
I don't
No,
remember
Price
his
was
name anymore.
Price is more of a downfield bruiser type
Okay.
of back, and then
Yeah.
Love was more of the speed pass catcher
Okay.
type of back. It was a different dynamic.
Stance as a running back, please.
My stance as a running
Yeah,
back,
this is that's how we'll close out.
I think I'll pass on
Do we have the
that.
football in here?
No,
No, we don't have the,
any
we don't have the
props. We have
football.
no props.
Oh,
this time.
We have one
We
prop.
have one
prop.
prop,
Oh, yeah.
actually.
It's been here all the time.
Yeah.
Jadarian
well
Price.
earned.
They're not like there was my blurry picture, whatever it was, on the screen. But anyway,
Yeah. Well,
happy
that was-
first round, guys.
Let's
It
go.
was interesting
Good
first
job.
round.
We'll be back
End of the
tomorrow
first
for the
round.
second round,
Hey,
right?
you know what?
No.
We ended about.
I don't know
2
about
hours
that one.
Earlier than
Yeah, I
last
don't know
time.
about that
Yeah,
one.
we were
too.
here till like 1 last time.
Yeah,
or so.
it was,
Yeah, he's
insane.
like, hey, you guys want to go get a beer? I'm like, dude, I gotta go.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was like, dude, I'm going home the
I
next
was
day.
literally
Yeah.
moving out of my dorm like about 4 hours after.
He's doing that tomorrow. Anyway, thanks to everyone for watching. I guess someone's got to go in the
somebody's gotta
stream.
go.
Yeah. Anyway,
Go work.
for Hayden,
I'll walk with him.
for Drew, for Chris, for Justin, for Matthew.
You can stay.
Anna was here at one point, for Miles and Chet, who also left at one point. Miles did text me and asked how much aura debt he's in now for tripping over that table, and it was definitely heard
He's in a lot
on
of
there.
aura debt,
Everyone
yeah.
reacted to it, but anyways, thank you to everyone for tuning in to our second ever first round of the NFL draft here on Bearcast Media. Guys, we got to return next year. We got to keep this going.
You know, I'm always down.
We got to
I'm all
be
in.
down. This will be.
Talk to Chet.
We will talk to Chet. Chet's going to have to stay here the whole time next time, too. Praying for him on that one. But anyway,